Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
FightSaga.com presents Royal Week Radio Chats with boxing scribe Joseph Heron.
Guys, welcome. Happy Friday to everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful start to a brilliant weekend and kicking off October in a very, very fine way. It's very difficult to deal with weekends like this because, well, there's no boxing. So I just got back, and I've been kind of out of the loop just dealing with other business. And yeah, I just got this in my email. Gentleman sent me an email about so I'm just late to the party here. So I got this email from this article written by Mike Coppinger today. Basically saying to boxing fans, and this is the equivalent, basically the sky is falling, right? When it comes to Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, right? Guys, this is a lot to do about nothing. This is just more of the same. And I touched on it on my show, I guess it was last night, in which I did want to touch on Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr., the negotiation. I touched on it a bit, saying that, yeah, it was supposed to be announced. Everything was supposed to be signed. But apparently one party, well, they've once again found a discrepancy in the fighter contract. And guys, yeah, this is becoming a very, very tedious and very hard to deal with situation, right? And once again, if anyone would like to join me and they have their headphones, I'm going to drop the link once again. Anyone can come on and chop it up with me. But let me just read some of this article, right? And I'll tell you exactly what's going on from the gentleman that I've had the honor of speaking with, right? Says in Mike Coppinger's article, the Errol Spence Jr. Terrence Crawford undisputed welterweight championship fight is in jeopardy because of a lingering dispute regarding the contract, sources told ESPN. I wonder whose source is or who this is, right? Well, I'll tell you in a bit. If the pay-per-view fight set for Las Vegas is finalized, it won't take place on targeted date of November 19th, but rather in December or even January. Well, that's if it isn't signed within the next week. They've got about a week to hammer this out, right? As much publicity as this negotiation it's been getting, yeah, 2 months is plenty of time to promote this event. Once again, guys, I'll point to Fury versus Wilder 2 and 3. When that fight was first announced, okay, they had less than 2 months to promote that event, and it turned into a juggernaut. That's plenty of time, guys. And that was a fight that was much less anticipated or demanded at the time. And all parties involved did a brilliant job of promoting it, and it turned into, well, a massive heavyweight fight, one of the most successful stateside that we've seen in quite some time. So I'll continue then. Spence and Crawford had agreed to all terms. That's what I was told, with Crawford set to earn the short end of the financial split. That's news to me. ESPN reported earlier this month the issue: Crawford wants transparency related to event expenses since contract contains no guaranteed purse. Now, let me just nip that in the bud right now, because everyone is making a huge deal. Oh, I can't believe, they're trying to force Crawford into a terrible deal with no guaranteed purse. Well, guys, that's the only way that this fight is actually happening, because Terrence Crawford is under the impression that he is of greater market value than he actually is. And once again, it's not entirely his fault. One, he's not very knowledgeable of the business. Two, well, he's a product of receiving inflated purses from his promoter, former promoter, Top Rank Inc. and Bob Arum, right? So this is the reason why there's no guaranteed purse. That's the only way, okay, that Showtime and Terrence Crawford could come to an agreement. And this is what I was told, right? That Terrence Crawford was standing firm on $15 million rock. Showtime wasn't going to budge any more than $8.59 million. So how are you going to continue negotiations if this is the biggest? And, we reported several months ago that Showtime and Terrence Crawford had reached an impasse, right? We told everyone this. Well, this was the only solution. Steven Espinosa was like, look, dude, all of your prior performances on pay-per-view, understanding that the pay-per-view revenue stream is currently fractured because everyone is streaming this stuff illegally. Piracy is the biggest problem concerning the business of boxing, right? So the only viable solution for this, okay, if you think that you're leaving too much money on the table, if you think you're worth that much more, then I tell you what, the only way to move forward is not to have a guaranteed purse, and you can find out for yourself what you're worth. And this is what should happen, guys. This is what should happen. Okay, this is not a big deal. This is the only way to move forward. Terrence Crawford isn't getting jobbed here, guys. This was the only way to move forward with the fight. Basically, Showtime saying, hey, look, we're instead of just giving you a guarantee, okay, you're going to get the bulk of everything. So is Errol Spence Jr. We're going to merely just take our 10% from the get-go without any kind of financial threshold to make our guarantee back. So you guys are going to get the live gate, and you guys are going to get the bulk of the gross pay-per-view revenue. And we're merely going to take our customary 10% right from the get-go, rather than having a financial threshold to make our money back, right? So guys, don't, and once again, I've read so many things on Twitter saying, oh, see, that just proves it. Heyman's trying to job Terrence Crawford and walk him into a terrible agreement. No. Look, all roads point to Terrence Crawford, this being his swan song, right? All roads lead to this being his final fight. Because after this experience, I guarantee you, no one is going to want to work with him. Because he has been a royal pain in the ass. And we told you that this was going to happen, guys, without representation, without a knowledgeable promoter like Top Rank or PBC or Matchroom Sport or Golden Boy Promotions doing the negotiations for you and handling all the legal aspects of it. That basically Terrence Crawford is learning on the job here. He wants to be a big boy and be his own promoter and define his own terms. Well, you should know something about the business before you take on that assignment. That's what's happening here, guys. Okay, so we're going to go through everything in just a second, let's give a shout out to some of our dear friends in the chat. And once again, guys, I apologize for going on late. Once again, I'm late to the party. I just found this out about an hour or so ago. And so I just wanted to come on and address this because there's a lot of ignorance floating around the internet and everyone is dropping Al Heyman in the grease. See, I told you. Yeah, everyone's saying. Okay, well, let me give a shout out to my brother, Jesus M. Salutes to you, my friend. Also, my brother Pounds Boxeo. Salute to you, brother. Jesus M says, pay both. Crawford's bets have a brand and resume. Skills. Yeah, brand and resume. Skills. Unfortunately, none of those things determine your market value in this business. And once again, just like the music business, the second word of that moniker is always most important. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a sport that is, well, single individual combatants, right? Individual participants, individual athletes. This is how it's structured, right? I want to give a shout out to our brother Tycho TV. Tycho TV, thank you so much for always supporting War Week Radio, sir. Also want to give a shout out to my brother W.A.W. Greetings, War Week Radio family. Finally, a fair, coherent, unbiased, straightforward, objective assessment of the facts on Friday. Thank you, sir, for always supporting the show. And yes, we're very objective. We don't have a dog in the hunt. Okay. So thank you for recognizing that, sir. Javis Bickle, Mr. Taxi Driver. He says Spence versus Crawford was a fraud, Joseph. I told you that source lied to you, homie. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. For all intents and purposes, once again, I told you guys that this was going to happen. This was going to be a done deal 3 weeks ago, right? And back then it was, but wouldn't you know it, just like it was reported from us in June, one party involved is trying to redefine terms at the last moment. And I'll explain why he's justified in doing so. Okay? So thank you for joining us, Javis. Appreciate it, my friend. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Pounds Boxeo points out that Choen Zepeda versus Regis Prograis is official now for November 26th. Yes, sir. Also want to give a shout out to our brother Wolf Trey. Thank you for always supporting War Week Radio, sir. Good to have you back, sir. Also, my brother Tony Boswell, much respect, War Week Radio in the chat, stopped in to show support. Hit the like button. Yeah, guys, please hit the like button. And also subscribe if you haven't already done so. Work comes early. Good night and God bless. God bless you too. Thank you for stopping in, my friend. And be sure to check out the replay when you wake up. Brother William Boxing says the PBC has no money, sinking ship. Look, if you think that any of these promoters use their own money to make any of these deals, you're sadly mistaken. To put fights together of this nature, no promoter uses their own money. None. Zilch. Okay? Let me just break this down how it's actually done. Okay? The live gate, knowing that both of these gentlemen are regional draws, one in Nebraska, one in Texas, respectively. Outside of those two areas, neither guy's a huge draw, right? When you look in terms of mainstream appeal, like Canelo, like Anthony Joshua, like Gervonta Davis, like Ryan Garcia, okay, neither one of these guys have that huge mainstream appeal. That's been the biggest obstacle in putting this fight together, right? That's been the biggest obstacle. Our brother Java says, no more excuses. Well, no excuse. No excuses. I'm just trying to let you guys know exactly what's going on. And once again, my brother Lance Pugmire has the beat. He said this to retort and to answer the Mike Coppinger, the sky is falling article, right? And I saw his brief explanation on the Max Kellerman show, and I can't believe Max sounds like a jaded and ignorant fan in this scenario. This is he accused Errol Spence and Al Heyman of ducking Terrence Crawford. Man, he should know better. This is a guy who's been around the sport for a very long time, on the business end of things as well. And he sounds like an idiot. So this is what Lance Pugmire, and this is exactly what I'm saying as well. He said, quote, this is from what his source told him. The same thing my guy told me. Nothing has changed. Not any worse off than we were a week or two ago. Still trying to get the deal closed. If it continues to lag, a move off November 19th will happen. Right? That's it. Guys, this is just another stipulation that Team Terrence Crawford has taken exception to. So Jesus M says 15 mil good, after taxes 12 million. Well, once again, after crunching the numbers, according to the guys at Showtime, yeah, that's a little too much. And when you look at his pay-per-view history, his pay-per-view performance history, right? You can't justify demanding $15 million. So once again, Steven Espinosa is like, look, if you think you're being shortchanged, okay? If you think you're being shortchanged, then bet on yourself, okay? You guys get it all. We won't give you any guarantee, and you guys, and as a result, there will be no threshold to try and make back our guarantee. You guys will get a gross of the purse. You guys are already getting the full amount of the huge site fee, which we have nothing to do with, right? Okay, and once again, Terrence and his people, they really don't have any knowledge of this, and we pointed this out, that this was going to be a real problem because he doesn't understand how everything is dispersed. And is he justified in demanding transparency? Of course he is. And Al Heyman has to furnish it. Okay, that was the reason for the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act, which was passed by Congress several decades ago to protect the fighters. And if he's demanding it, well, Al Heyman has to furnish that. And that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal, guys. We'll continue in just a minute. Want to give a shout out to my brother G Funky. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed to G Funky, please go do so. He's a great guy. And he's a very knowledgeable boxing scribe. God bless you, brother. And thank you for joining us. Also, I want to give a shout out to our brother. What's up, Joseph? Hope all is good. Yes, everything is good. And thank you for joining us, Richard. We appreciate it, my friend. Chavis, please keep it clean. I'm going to have to put you in timeout because of this, brother, okay? My apologies, sir. Just keep it clean and try to keep race out of everything, okay? Truth Bomb, thank you for joining us. Spence hasn't wanted smoke from Crawford for 5 years. Look, Spence isn't the problem. These fighters are fearless, guys. Both Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, they want all the smoke. This is why they are where they are, okay, at this time. Because they're fearless, and they truly believe in their heart that they can kick anyone's ass at 147 pounds, including each other, right? This is not it. And once again, Terrence Crawford, I guarantee you this. If Terrence Crawford had just done one of these two things, right? If he had stayed with Top Rank Inc. and had them negotiate this deal for him, okay, fight would already be made. Much easier. And if you look at the deal that that Fury Wilder had, right, in place, where their respective promoter is responsible for guaranteeing their purse because they had two separate networks, ESPN and Fox, right? responsible for their respective fighter's purse. Yeah, that's an easy make. And once again, guys, ask yourselves if Al Heyman is so difficult to work with, right? And if he is not as transparent as he should be, then you would have never seen Bob Arum and Top Rank Inc. enter into a negotiation with them, enter into an agreement with them. Right? That's the reality, guys. So, and once again, we told you guys this was going to be a potential problem, and unfortunately it is. I can tell you this, if Crawford, if he doesn't, as a result of this promotion in this fight, once it officially happens, and guys, it's going to happen. This is just prolonging the inevitable. Yeah, he's going to have a problem working with anyone else after this. Okay, he had better hope that he becomes a much bigger mainstream commodity after this, or everyone's going to treat him like Demetrius Andrade. Right? So honestly, I applaud Terrence Crawford for taking this deal and saying, yep, you know what? I think I'm worth more. You don't think I am? So the only solution for this is, yeah, we're going to have to, we're just going to have to, I don't want to leave any money on the table. I don't want to take a short money guarantee. I think I'm worth more. So we're not going to take a guarantee, and we're not going to give you a financial threshold to try and make that money back since you're not furnishing a guarantee. So we're going to get the bulk of the pay-per-view revenue, with you guys just getting 10%. Most fans aren't aware that networks, if they make back their threshold for that guaranteed purse, they only get 10% of the pay-per-view revenue, even though they're mostly responsible for the great majority of the promotion. They're responsible for the entire broadcast, all of the technical cost. They're responsible for all of that, right? And they only get 10%. Most fans aren't aware of that, right? Etu Sidhu says Haney. I don't know what that has to do with this conversation, but yes. Looking forward to seeing Devin Haney take on George Kambosos Jr. in a couple weeks. Looking forward to it. And he also says Spence beats Crawford, man. You know what? I'm in full agreement with that. And we'll talk about that technically a little bit later on in the show. Truth Bomb says Spence can't even keep his mouthpiece in. He's already identified that problem, and from what I gather, yeah, they're getting a mouthpiece actually fitted for his chompers, right? And Etu says, Haney versus Tank is the real big fight. If you say so, brother. Honestly, I would love to see that fight. That's a great fight. But as long as Devin Haney remains signed with Top Rank, it's highly unlikely that that fight happens. Now, if Haney were a bigger market commodity, yeah, the likelihood would be greater. But without a big fan base, and the only fan base I see of him that's very loyal and that he has is on the non-money spending YouTube boxing community, who aren't purchasing pay-per-views right now anyway. But I tell you what, it's a great fight. I hope it happens. I give a shout out to my brother Peter. Saludos from Tijuana, Baja, from me and my brother Adrian. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, brother. It's good to see you again on the chat, sir. Also, my brother Peter Von Arx. Hello to you, my friend. Thank you for joining us. So Jesus asks a very, very good question. What's Spence's average payday for pay-per-view fights? Now, what he's guaranteed, he's usually only guaranteed between $1 and $3 million, depending on the depending on the quality of opposition. Once again, guys, quality of opposition matters, right? And then post-fight, he's used to making anywhere between $5 and $8 million, right, on back-end money. So that's it, guys. That's it. Truth bomb. Look, I know you truly believe this, Truth bomb, but that's not the case. He's afraid to lose the O in both men's minds, okay, respectively. They don't think they're going to lose. They truly believe that they're the baddest man in welterweight, at welterweight. That fear is real, Joe. No. These fighters are fearless. That's one of the things that separates them from us. They're fearless. They'd step in the ring with Godzilla if it meant making life-changing money. That's the mental makeup of these guys. Now, their handlers, well, that's another story entirely, right? Both fighters make good money, just fight. Yes. Guys, but well, look. I'm going to go into this, and I'll last hello I'm going to do for a good minute. My brother El Pinche Bunch, thank you for joining us, sir. Hello, Joseph. What happened to the Spence Crawford announcement you practically guaranteed last week? I guaranteed it last week, yes, because from what I was told, both men had already agreed to terms. Javis says, "Por decir la verdad." Joseph, you put me in timeout with very nice political words. Come on. We value everyone here, man. Don't do anything to offend anyone, my friend. Okay, we understand that this is social media, but come on, brother. Keep all your comments in good taste. And that's all I'm going to say. But we value your presence here in the chat, my friend. But yeah, that's it. And this has been more of the same. I was told that both men had agreed to terms back in June. So what happened then is the same thing that's been happening. What's happened now, I should say, is the same thing that's been happening. Terrence Crawford is basically learning the business on the job. Okay, and this is not the place for it. If you don't know shit about the business, then you should be working with someone who does. Right? But let's go back to the transparency issue, right? Once again, guys, this is a non-issue. This is not nearly as big of a deal as what it's made out to be. Guys, Al Heyman has to be transparent. If he doesn't want to be in breach with this potentially criminal, because this is now a law that's been passed through legislation, through the Congress. You have to be transparent and you have to work in accordance with the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act, which was passed several decades ago. And why? Well, it's because it's law now, guys. But who's residing over this? Are the state athletic commissions residing over this? Are the sanctioning organizations residing over this? No. But you can actually take someone now to criminal court. Okay? This isn't just a civil matter. If you break the law, okay, and you're found guilty of it, if Heyman is found guilty of it, yeah, that's punishable by jail time. This is no longer a civil matter if you break the law, right? So he has no choice. He has to be forthcoming, right? He has to be. And Terrence, if he is acting as a promoter, in name only though, and that's for tax purposes as well, because I guarantee you no money is coming out of his pocket to promote this event. But he wants to make sure that everything is transparent. He wants to see where every dollar is being spent, and that's well within his right. And Al Heyman has no choice but to comply, and he will, guys. This is entirely being blown out of proportion. Just like the no guarantee. completely being blown out of proportion. Once again, to people who don't know or aren't familiar with the business of boxing, that was the only viable solution. And thank God Terrence Crawford took no guarantee, or else we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. This fight would be dead in the water because neither party was willing to budge, the way I've been told and the way I understand it. Once again, something has to give. If you're at a severe stalemate, okay, which they were several months ago, I should say, even as recent as a month ago, I should say. Yeah, both parties were very far apart in their guaranteed demands. Well, Showtime's like, you know what? Fine. We're not going to guarantee anymore, so you see that we're not trying to rob you. Okay, invest in yourself. Take this fight without a guaranteed purse. You get everything. We're just going to get our 10%. And that's basically our licensing fee. Okay, is the 10% off the top. That's it. So we're going to invest in you guys, and you're going to invest in yourselves. And to be honest with you, this is the way every big fight should be negotiated. Because I'm sick and tired of no one looking out for the networks, wanting them to guarantee these very expensive main events and basically setting these networks up for failure. This is the way every big fight should be negotiated, guys. I promise that too. We'll get to that, brother. We'll get to that in just a minute. We'll talk about Devin Haney versus Tank, right? Peter Von Ark says, Spence versus Crawford. I'd just like to see the fight before I tip over. Oh, Javis, I knew what you meant. I just don't want anyone to get offended with the comments. I know it's coming from a good place. I know, brother. But thank you for giving that explanation. I appreciate it, my friend. Tonya Luna says, Crawford Spence for January 21st, 2023. That remains up in the air. It all depends on how quickly or how long before they actually come to a mutual agreement. But at this rate, we may not see the fight, guys. Like, I'm getting sick and tired of this. Being told that, okay, we're in the clear now, guys. Both fighters have already agreed to all terms, and then all of a sudden, one party involved, and it's been consistent this entire negotiation. One party, specifically, Team Crawford, has been taking exception to everything, right? From the money to the accommodations to the venue to the specifics, yeah, everything. And once again, it's because he's learning this as he's going. And this is a problem with not having a quality promoter. This is a real problem, guys. So we'll touch on that in a little bit, but thank you for joining us, Antonio. God bless you, brother. My brother, Tony Boswell. Good night, Warweek Radio. Can't hold my head up. Check your Cash App. Thanks for the great content. You know, thank you, Tony. I appreciate it, brother. And once again, if anyone else would like to donate or contribute to Warweek Radio Network programming, as well as supporting the entire boxing community here in South Texas, please feel free to donate at Cash App $Warweek. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, my friend. Also want to give a shout out to my brother, Toby Bartlett. Thank you for joining us, sir. Also want to give a shout out to my brother, boxing historian. Brother, if you have any questions or want to get some anything off your chest, if you have your headphones on, I'm going to drop the link once again. Why don't you join us, my friend? Tell you what, I also want to give a shout out to my brother, let's see, Electro Jed. How are you, EJ? It's been a while, man. I hope you're doing better, brother. I was actually praying for you, man, when I first found out, when you first dropped the bomb, that you weren't in good health, man. So you've been in my prayers, sir. I hope you're doing better, my friend. Um, Tell you what, my brother EJ, thank you so much for joining me, sir. So at this time, I'd like to introduce my brother, Mr. Electrojed EJ. How you doing,
Hey,
sir?
how you doing? Thank you for the prayers. I appreciate that. I really do. A lot of people have been asking about me and sending good vibes. I appreciate that. But Joseph, how you doing, brother? Long time. I'm sorry. I have not been able to talk with you lately, man.
Yeah, so please, man, if you don't mind, how are you, man? Is everything looking up? Are you doing
Um,
better, my friend?
I have my good days and bad, but I'm not ready to come back per se. I can't devote that much time into the social media just yet. Once I get a little better, then yeah. But it's been a tough road. But you know what? I'm looking up. It's looking better. Put it that way. So
Well, I tell you what, that's wonderful to hear, man. I hope everything improves dramatically, and I hope you get very soon a clean bill of health, my friend. Because yeah, I for one, boy, I tell you what, getting old sucks, doesn't it, EJ?
oh good lord, man. You know what? Youth
It's
is wasted
terrible,
on the
man.
young, man.
Well, no, no. See, my voice, and this is my bread and butter, right? I do voice work. I'm a ring announcer. I also do commentary, and so my voice. Most people who listen to me think that I'm a much younger man than I am, but no, I'm an old codger, my friend. But thank you for the compliment, brother.
Yeah,
so, so,
thank you very much. Though I really appreciate. I have been uh, eavesdropping on all the different channels, and I have been listening in on here. So again, I appreciate all the positive vibes and stuff. I gotta say though, man, I want to talk about Spence and Crawford for a
yeah, if
sec.
you have any comments or questions regarding this very misunderstood topic, please let them fly at this time, EJ. The floor is yours, sir.
I'm not even sure I'm misunderstanding it. My thing is between the two of these gentlemen, there's enough power just between the two boxers to set aside all the BS. They needed to make this fight happen. If it doesn't happen this year, honestly, Joseph, and I've told everybody this, every channel, if they don't fight by December 31st, 2022, I will not invest any more time in either one of those two boxers. I don't care if they make the fight January 1st, 2023. I refuse to partake in giving them any more of my time. That's how I feel, and I can't help but I'm not going to change it, and I mean it
And
when I
you know
say I
what?
will.
That's being one of the real bosses of boxing. Okay, the fans. You have every right to share that sentiment. And you know what? Everyone is right there with you, brother. This is what I'm saying. Okay, Terrence Crawford, after this terribly grueling experience working with Showtime and PBC, or at least trying to, and burning his bridges with Top Rank Inc. Okay, and once again, this is a gentleman. Eddie Hearn was wise enough to basically turn down Terrence Crawford, and he had the opportunity to work with him. And he said, "Look, we one, you demand way too much money, and two, we don't have anyone on the DAZN side of the fence at 47 that we can the matchups that you want, right? It's be virtually impossible for us to negotiate that on your behalf. So sorry, brother, you're on your own at this time, guys. I'd like to welcome my brother, the boxing historian, to the show. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, how you doing, Joseph? How you doing, Electro Jet?
What's up, historian? How you been, brother?
Doing good.
Well,
Are
I
you
tell you what, we're doing much better now that you're on the show, sir. Tell you what, you guys, honestly, on a lonely Friday night with no boxing this weekend, you guys are a sight for sore eyes. Thank you for visiting with me, sir. So, TBH, I tell you
doing?
what, we're going to go back to EJ's comments, but come on, man, you sound like you want to get something off of your chest. The
Oh
floor
yeah,
is yours, sir.
you know what? It's F the PBC. It's F Al Heyman, and it's in this foolishness that's been going on, in particular with this saga with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. I mean, look, I understand that there's people that don't believe in that people that fighters don't duck, but when it's easy to do it in today's time, behind the scenes, behind corporate, you know, 'cause that's how I look at PBC, behind, someone making the fight, even though the same guy that claimed to be his own promoter and be his own boss, he has to answer to one Al Heyman. Thing is, man, like, and here's the thing, and here's what I don't understand with people that are on the uh, Spence side of the coin. How, like, so I'm trying to understand how all these reporters and writers, right, all are not reporting. It's like when it's something that's they don't like hearing. I guess for some reason they believe that reporter like Mike Carpenter or Rick Glazer, I guess they're not credible.
Well, look. Rick Glazer, first of all, he's not a journalist, and he doesn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
pretend to be. He's got his favorites, and he's got an agenda. And I will tell you, as much respect as I have for Rick, and I've known him for a good minute, right? And I have a ton of respect for everyone that he knows in the business and his knowledge of the business and his participation in the business. He's very good for several fighters and several promoters and several managers. He does a great job. He's very good at what he does. But I will say this, okay? He's got a real hard on for Al Heyman. So when he's actually telling people, oh, see, this just proves it. Al Heyman, oh, he's not forthcoming. He's not trustworthy. Okay, I'm going to ask him this. When have you ever known Al Heyman to fuck over any fighter and to fuck them out of money? He is always fighter first, business second when it comes to the business of boxing. And this has been his biggest criticism the entire time. He doesn't necessarily do what's best for the business of boxing. And he hasn't.
No.
He is fighter first. Well, he's himself first. And he's fighter a very close second. But when have you ever heard of Al Heyman screwing a fighter out of his money? If anything, quite the contrary. Well, he usually tries to get every one of his fighters or anyone that he works with paid almost a little more than what's in the pot, right? And this has been my biggest criticism of Al Heyman the entire time. Now, once again, in establishing and starting up PBC, Al Heyman, well, to try and attract talent, and boy, that he did, he was paying all of his fighters an absurd amount of money, way inflated purses. And that's why you're seeing guys like Keith Thurman, well, not really want to fight. He's like, well, wait a minute. I'm used to making anywhere between $3 and $5 million guaranteed. And now you want me to fight this guy for less money? That's a big problem. That's the ultimate reason why Sean Porter retired as well. He's like, look, dude, I see the writing on the wall, and I'm gonna duck out before it gets any worse.
Well, we look at I'm gonna just be honest, man.
Well, hold on, TBH.
Yeah.
And let me just add this one more thing, right? And once again, guys, he cannot be in breach of the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act. If Terrence Crawford is demanding greater transparency, he has to comply. It's the law. And thank God for that law. Now, if only the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act would apply to MMA, this would be a perfect world. But unfortunately, it doesn't. Okay, and that's a totally different show, though, that we could dissect. And once again, I'll just add this. There's a reason why Dana White is very clear in forcing his commentators and his athletes to refer to a stand-up style as striking rather than boxing. So they are not compliant. They don't fall into the category of the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act. That's by design, guys. They don't fall under that umbrella. Isn't that shitty?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. shit. I mean, then don't get it twisted. I might, when it comes to the UFC, and now as far as other MMA promotions, they do, believe it or not, they do give bigger purses to their fighters than even the UFC does. You know what I'm saying? So as far as the UFC is concerned, I have my criticisms about them. Do not get it twisted. But as far as boxing is concerned, um, and I've just been looking at how these guys have been acting over the past couple of years. These guys are some pompous. Now speaking of the fighters, as far as the fighters are concerned, a lot of these guys are very pompous, arrogant, and how should I say, pampered. And if they feel like the whole world needs to be fucking given to them and shit, bro. And my thing and the thing is, they're not worth. It's like they're not worth what they're getting paid for because they only fight once or twice a year. A lot of that has to do with this promotion, the PBC, and my thing is with overall with this boxing landscape, like just the fact that this came out,
Can
right?
you really blame the PBC though? But go ahead.
I want you to hear everything I'm trying to get at because
I'm gonna listen. I just had to.
this shit is almost I box, but I'm not. But as far as watching certain guys, certain fighters, I'm almost to the point where I'm gonna limit my time watching the sport, man. Because of shit like this. Like shit like this, regardless of what people will say, whether the shit is put out there too fast or not. Listen, look, the fact that we hear one thing one week and then we hear the full totality of what's going on this week, and by everybody's admission, it's the PBC's fault, even Al Heyman's fault, that this shit is not happening.
I'm sorry, by everyone's admission.
I'm just going off of what everybody.
Look.
I'm going off the sentiments of everybody.
That seems to be the popular sentiment. And once again, I'm going to go to my brother William Boxing. He says, Joseph, with all due respect, you're being a bit too supportive of the PBC. Have you not seen the way they've been holding up fights? They can't even get their 168, 160 guys to fight. Well, once again, the biggest and look, and I appreciate you actually telling me that, but I'm going to clarify this. Guys, we're the only channel who hasn't chosen sides. Okay? We don't choose sides. We report and we're very objective. And I defy anyone to go on another boxing YouTube channel, with all due respect to everyone, and find anyone who's in the business or as knowledgeable of the business as War Week Radio. Okay? And once again, I have so much respect for everyone's insight, but boxing historian as well as EJ. They're very sharp guys, very intelligent, and they're very knowledgeable in all aspects of this. But this is our area of expertise, right? The business. And I know fans like EJ one time, specifically, I remember EJ, you chewing my ass because I was just giving a business explanation when it came to Tank Davis's career. And you're like, no, man, I don't want to hear that. But look, once again, we don't have a dog in the hunt. Okay, I don't carry daggers for anyone in this sport. And I try to
Oh no.
You cut out.
You cut out, Joseph. Joseph.
Yo, Joseph.
I think we lost him. But hey, listen, well, until we get him back, Joseph,
Yeah.
I wanted to address what you were talking about. Now, because I haven't had a lot of time because I really haven't been on the air, I have been able to do some research. And one thing I found out, how strange is it that only the top boxers on PBC does PBC not let big fights go on. But I've noticed a lot of their second, third, and fourth tier fighters are fighting across the board religiously. Look it up.
Well, yeah. Well, Dave, like you talking about like David Morrell and guys like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, why are they holding why are they holding then, the top tier boxers? So it can't be just about PBC. This definitely has to be. He should be right back, guys. Joseph,
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, hear you
My
now.
apologies. I'm having trouble with my internet for some reason, but I'm sorry. As you were, EJ, please.
No. Anyway, just in case you missed it, I was going to say I was just telling boxing historian, because I haven't been able to be on as much. I have been doing a bunch of research. Except a positive thing comes from it. But I was saying that a lot of the second, third, and fourth tier boxers on PBC, wow, lo and behold, they've been going across the street all kinds religiously. So why is it that the top tier boxers are not? You can't put this all on PBC. This is on the boxers and their management as well. You can't.
Well, you know what, EJ, and let me add to that as well, and that's a very astute point. And G Funky, come on, dude. You know, you're a crackerjack, brother. You know about every aspect of the fight game. Come on, man. Come
I
on.
don't know if that. I don't know if that's real G-Funk.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. No, I think it is, man. He's such a knowledgeable guy. I love G Funky, man. He's a great guy. And once again, anyone who knows what War Week Radio Network, what the inspiration was behind that name, okay, knows the business and knows this sport. And G Funky was one of the very first people to acknowledge that. So my hat's off to you, my friend. You always know what you're talking about. But look, to add to that, right? Guys, this is nothing uncommon within the sport of boxing. Every promoter wants complete control if they can muster it, if they can muscle it. Now let's take Devin Haney, for example. Upon signing that fight deal with George Kambosos, okay, he was forced. He goes, you take this fight, Top Rank, Bob Arum, Lou DiBella, you take this fight, well, you're going to have to give us options on your next 3 fights. How different is that from what Matchroom Sport demands, as well as Al Heyman, as well as Golden Boy Promotions? It's no different, guys. Everyone practices that. And once again, this was actually devised by the mob back in the day. If you wanted to fight when they monopolized the champions, right? When it was just one title, the NBA, which is now the the WBA.
WBA.
Right?
WBA.
Yeah, if you wanted a shot at their champions, you had to give the mob options on your next several fights. Okay, that's still being practiced today by everyone. Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, as well as Al Heyman. There's no difference, guys. Right?
No, I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, I was trying to make that point. So I don't put it on PBC. I don't put it on DAZN. I don't put it. I put that strictly on boxing, the boxers and their management, how they decide to deal with it. Because look at the situation with De La Hoya and Munguia with oh God, I can't remember his name. The hot new young kid at 160. What the fuck? Everyone said that Boo Boo left that weight class because of him. Janabek.
Oh, Janabek Ali Manala.
Yeah. Look, that deal almost went through. And what was it that De La Hoya fucking messed that fight up. De La Hoya also messed up the fight.
Oh yeah, Jamal Charlo and
yes,
and Jaime Munguia. Yeah, that was a fight that everyone was salivating over when it was proposed. And yeah, and once again, guys, every promoter, especially nowadays when it's so fractured. Look, here's the problem with the business nowadays, and this is where the business model has changed, right? Where promoters never had exclusive deals with either HBO or Showtime or anything like that. Now, fighters customarily had exclusive deals with networks, but never before did promoters have exclusive deals with either HBO, Showtime, or ESPN or anyone.
I don't think promoters.
They were free to come and go as they please. Nowadays, it's become so fractured, and it's made making the best matchups possible. If a promoter, and it's forced promoters to strategically, well, to change their strategy. Now you see promoters trying to invest in talent and monopolize the great bulk of the talent in specific divisions. This is why the middleweight division is such a mess, right? And it's become very difficult to make these fights a reality. The middleweight division, we don't see any clarity. We don't see guys fighting for undisputed because you can't. All of these promoters have specific exclusive deals with their respective, right? Top Rank with ESPN, PBC and Al Heyman with Showtime, and then Golden Boy and Matchroom Sport with DAZN. That's a real problem. So you've seen, as a result, promoters have to change their strategy and investing in trying to monopolize as much talent as they can in specific divisions.
But there's one
And
thing
it's
I do
actually,
want to say.
hold on, and it's worked out for the fans, because look at how many undisputed or unification bouts we've seen this year alone.
Right. I got you there. My thing is, listen. Haney may not be one of the fighters I respect, but not one of the fighters I like. But I have a lot of respect for the fact that he went ahead and took it upon himself to say, "I'll take whatever. I'll take the deal you gave." What's his face? I can't look right now. Names are bad to me. You know who I mean. But he decided. He said he took it upon himself. I'll take whatever deal he had. I don't care. And that's the boxer. That's the boxer stepping up.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yep. And so,
that's what
guys,
needs to happen
and so to justify and support your point, that's my point entirely in trying to actually rationalize and tell you guys, yeah, this is not just Heyman looking for a way out of this fight, right? This is obviously the biggest money fight that either Spence or Crawford can participate in at this time, and this has been mandated by the fans as well as Showtime Sports. They want this fight in the worst way. Upon speaking with the brass at Showtime, this would be the crown jewel of their entire boxing calendar. This is the biggest fight that you can make domestically, both critically and commercially, right? And so, guys, this is just a formality. Before you throw any daggers at Al Heyman and think that I'm waving the pom-poms for old Al, look, I've been his biggest critic over the past decade, going back to my time with working with Don Chargan and Golden Boy Promotions. Okay, I've been his biggest critic, but here, no, you can't throw daggers at Al Heyman. This is a mere formality, and everyone is making too big of a deal about this. If you want to point to a party to blame, we'll look no further than Terrence Bud Crawford, and I understand why he's doing this, because this very well, and I think this is going to be his last chance saloon and his swan song, because after this painful experience, okay, for everyone else but Team Crawford, good luck working with anyone else after this, unless he magically becomes a huge mainstream commodity after this promotion and after this fight is made, which very well may happen. Okay, if he wins and if he looks great doing it, yeah, you're going to see his marketability and his market value increased exponentially. At least it has that potential. But aside from that, if it doesn't happen, good luck working with anyone else. He's proving to be a royal pain in the ass. Guys, keep in mind, this is the same jaded fighter who's suing his last promoter for negligence and racism and unfair treatment, making the claim that he wasn't promoted properly. This is the same guy, guys. He's become a huge pain in the ass. And look, I know fans Bud Crawford, and I'm one of them, don't want to admit that. And they don't want to see that, but that's become the reality, guys. And we told you that this was going to be a problem even before this fight started negotiations. We told you that on this channel. Right? Nothing's changed. So if you want to point the finger at anybody, and once again, everyone's making too big of a deal about, oh, look at that. He's being cornered into accepting a terrible deal. Look, this was his doing in signing on to a no guarantee. He wasn't happy with the guarantee that Showtime was standing firm on and saying, look, this is all we're willing to give you because this is all your previous numbers can justify. Considering the quality of opposition, we feel that you're lucky to be getting anything over $5 million. In fact, you could argue, depending on your previous numbers, that $5 million is actually quite generous. Terrence Crawford started negotiations, from what I've been told, with $22 million guaranteed fight demand. How do you justify that? Okay, now he negotiated himself down to 15. And Showtime saying we still cannot justify that. So that's when we reported 2 months ago that they were at an impasse, right? So what is the solution for the impasse? Just rolling the dice, investing in yourself, and not getting a huge pre-fight guarantee. You get all of the money, and Showtime's just going to get our 10%, and we don't have to put forth a huge guaranteed licensing fee for this as a result. So everyone is investing in the product. That's how much all parties involved believe that this is going to be a big hit commercially and critically. And in my opinion, this is very healthy for the sport of boxing. This is what should happen in all of these big fights. Okay, this puts the networks in a position to possibly succeed and make money. Instead of demanding an absurd pre-fight guarantee, this should be the working model from this point forward for every major fight. Am I wrong?
I do not disagree with you.
I mean,
disagree with you.
look, I'll say this. I mean, as far as Terrence Crawford, yeah, I mean, you know, him suing Bob Arum and all that other stuff for, you know, for the shit that he's talking about. I'm not sitting up here and saying that that's, you know, that he's not, you know, that he might be jumping the gun on certain things. And of course, his market value wasn't all that good, but neither is fucking Errol Spence. And the reason why I say
that is right. And that's
you know,
been the biggest problem during negotiation was the money factor, agreeing on money, one that wasn't going to put Showtime in a position to fail, where both fighters, because of the quality of opposition, because this is easily the toughest matchup that both fighters could participate in. Both fighters wanted to get compensated handsomely, and they deserve it. But look, you can't guarantee what's not there. These guys are looking at Canelo, and that's very unrealistic and unfair. They're looking at the money that was offered and guaranteed Canelo. Last time I checked, though, even in Texas, even in Omaha, you guys can't put up the numbers and guarantee the product, guarantee the numbers that Canelo Alvarez can, and that is put forth statistically. Once again, you've got in business, you've got to be able to have numbers to support your demands. And if you don't, well, good luck convincing the people at Showtime or any network.
Didn't Canelo Triple G get over 500,000 sales?
You know what? We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out next week, right? That's when I'm privy to the numbers. But once again, I'm only going to be privy to the numbers that are the purchases made through the antiquated cable and satellite distribution method, not the numbers that were paid directly to DAZN subscriptions. So I'm anticipating a number that's very low. Obviously, Eddie Hearn says, oh, we did over 1 million worldwide. Well, that doesn't mean shit. Okay, because worldwide, those are different price points. I guarantee you, they didn't charge their customers in Europe, in the UK, $80. That was set at a much lower price point. So that's, once again, you can't go by that. He's just trying to sugarcoat this, right? In my opinion.
I heard 500,000, which seems like a realistic number.
Yeah, from Dan Raphael, I heard that same thing. But once again, the numbers were, it was too soon to project that. I don't know why he did that.
Who, Dan Raphael's fat ass? I'm sorry. I don't like that motherfucker. I don't like that motherfucker, man. He's a still content from YouTube creators going back 10, 12 years ago, man. I don't respect that piece of shit.
I will say this, and once again, I'm not going to cast aspersions, but I will. That guy's always been a prick. Pardon my French, guys. Okay, ever since as early, like when I first started attending fights and covering the fights live, which I don't anymore for health purposes. But yeah, when I first became a beat writer in boxing, he's always been a colossal prick. And so, yeah, if anyone wants to cast aspersions about old big fat Dan Raphael, I'm not going to stand in your way. He's a prick. He's a colossal prick, and very few people in this business actually like the guy.
As much of a prick.
Well, I can see why. I can see why, because his fat ass is not creative, so he has to steal other people's shit and ideas.
Yeah, but at least he steals the accurate numbers.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about his talking point.
Dan? You know? Well, look, that has yet to be determined whether or not those numbers are accurate.
I don't
Once
know
again, we'll find out next week.
Accurate. I'm not, but in the past, he has gotten pretty accurate.
I don't know. I don't read Dan Raphael, so you'd have to tell me, sir.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe 10 years ago he might have been accurate, even though that wouldn't be the fourth or fifth source I would go to back in the day.
Well, look, when he used to actually write for USA Today as well as ESPN, two juggernauts, two huge mainstream circulations.
Oh, he's not with ESPN no more?
Fuck no, dude. They canned his stupid ass. And so now he's having to nickel and dime and work on he's trying to work on his own behalf. And you know what? I respect the grind. But you know what, dude? There's a reason why he was canned by ESPN.
Yeah, I bet. Shit.
Okay?
I mean,
there's a reason. No one likes the guy.
Yeah, I could see that being an issue. he has a stellar personality.
Man, fuck that dude, man.
Hey, want to give a shout out to my brother Dragon Lake. Thank you for joining us, sir. I know it's late. Thank you for staying up with us in the wee hours of the morning. So anyone who's just joined the broadcast, let's bring you up to speed. Okay, Mike Coppinger being Chicken Little, and basically reporting that the sky is falling. No, dude, he's blowing it way out of proportion. And once again, it's no big deal. If it's not spelled into the contract already, Al Heyman, by law, by way of the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act, has to be compliant and have total transparency with Terrence Crawford as well as any of his fighters that make that demand or request. Not a big deal, guys. He has to comply. Okay.
Well, what if he don't?
So once again, this is not an unreasonable request by Terrence Crawford. This is just a formality and a mere stipulation of a long line of demands from Team Crawford. But guys, make no mistake about it. If you want to point your finger at someone who's been holding up this process, it's been Terrence Crawford. And why? Because he knows shit about the business and he's learning as he's going. Once again, this is the equivalent, guys, of someone defending himself without representation in criminal court. No one would recommend that, but it's well within your right. Would anyone recommend that you do that? Hell no, dude. But that's well within your right, and that's well within Terrence Crawford's right. He is acting as his own promoter and management. Okay, which tells me that this is going to be a swan song, guys. He doesn't give a shit what kind of feathers that he ruffles at this time. He wants to eliminate as many hands in his pockets as possible, which tells me this is going to be it for Terrence Crawford. After this fight, win or lose, he's going to ride off into the sunset and retire. That's what this tells me. All of my experience and knowledge of the business tells me so.
You know what? I don't know if it's because my big thing is with this fight. I've always said, and historians been there, and I've heard you've been in rooms where I've said this. This is a possibility for 3 super fights if this fight goes right. That's what I kept saying, and I'll continue to say that if that fight happens this year. After this year, I don't give a fuck. But if they fight this year, this is online for a 3-time super fight. And if someone would just bet on themselves, like you say, just fucking have faith in yourself enough to believe you'll win, and then you can make more on the second and third fight. Why don't you look at the picture that way? Why is everyone for that money up front? I'm so sick of these spoiled motherfuckers. Now, don't get me wrong, guys.
Well,
Joseph,
look.
I'm not in the business.
EJ, I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why, though, brother. I'm telling you why. All indicators, and once again, my knowledge of the business, all indicators point to this being Terrence Crawford's last professional fight. He has every intention of retiring after this. This is why he doesn't give a shit who likes his decision making. Okay, he doesn't give a shit about how many feathers he currently ruffles. He doesn't care. Okay? All indicators point to him retiring after this fight. And he's already accomplished enough in his career, win or lose, that he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Guys, at this time, I'd like to introduce to the show my brother, Boxing Source. How you doing, my friend?
Brother Joseph, long time, man. Good to hear from you. Good to join in on this particular podcast here that you got going on tonight.
Thank you for staying up with us, my friend. And once again, always a valued opinion, man, from you, brother, as well as EJ and boxing historian as well. So what's on your mind, brother? What would you like to express? And do you have any questions regarding this, well, debacle of a negotiation?
Well, I'll just join in by saying that this is picking up from one of our previous conversations in reference to what had been going on, and this had been a couple months ago when you were on one of my podcasts, and you talked about what was going on from about April until that particular point.
Yeah, I talked about the impasse, right, between Terrence Crawford and Showtime and his seemingly unreasonable demands. And once again, I applaud all parties involved for coming to this agreement in taking the no guarantee, right? And everyone seems to think that Al Heyman and Showtime, they're trying to, well, force Terrence Crawford into a terrible agreement. Guys, this was the only solution. If he doesn't take a no guarantee and rolls the bones and invests in his own career, then we're not even talking about this right now. It's dead in the water. This was the only viable solution. And once again, I think all parties involved need to be applauded for this. Okay, networks shouldn't have to put forth an absurd pre-fight guarantee while the pay-per-view revenue stream is as damaged as it is. They shouldn't have to. Okay? So I'm sorry, as you were, Boxing Source.
Now going off of that, and one of the points that you made before I joined in is that this is Terrence Crawford's first rodeo as being a guy that is a a quote unquote free agent,
Yep.
or in a sense, dealing with any fighters involved with Al Heyman of that magnitude. So now that he's not under a promotional company per se, he could have like worked this fight under the guise of how Heyman kind of works a lot of those fighters that he has at
Yep.
a certain level.
Look, we would already have this fight. This fight would have already happened
Exactly.
had he just given options to Al Heyman. And once again, this is why I said all indicators point to Terrence Crawford, this being his final fight of his illustrious professional career, and it's been illustrious. He is this generation one of its best fighters. There's no debate. He is a great fighter, but he doesn't know shit about the business. But I will say this, though. Look, if he were to continue fighting, why wouldn't he give Al Heyman options on his next 3 fights? All of the talent that he wants to to meet in the ring currently reside under his advisement.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned Jermell Charlo. Well, good luck getting that fight after this.
Right.
He's proven himself to be a royal pain in the ass.
Well, I think you're kind of assured about this, but this is, what I've, learned over a course of time, and what I've been, hearing from multiple people, is that with Al Heyman being the advisor for certain fighters, such as a Gervonta Tank Davis, a Deontay Wilder, a Jermell Charlo, a Jamal Charlo, or Errol Spence, they will have a company that's registered under them that pretty much poses as a promotional company, so to speak.
Oh, thank you for bringing this up, Boxing Source, and that almost slipped my mind, and I'm going to touch on that after I introduce my brother to the show, Major Key Boxing. Major Key, welcome to the program, sir.
What's going on, gentlemen? How you doing?
You know what? I just wanted to introduce you, brother, and invite you into the queue, but let's continue with Boxing Source's point because it's a very good one.
No, and salute to my brother, Boxing Source. But I just want to say, if for any reason I fall off, it's because I'm in Florida and my power is actually off. I just recharged my phone earlier.
Oh gosh,
and
I hope you're staying
on
safe,
your
my
show
friend.
with the battery that I have. So just so you know, all right.
Well, I tell you what, Major Key, our prayers and our thoughts are with you and your entire family in Hamlet, where you currently reside. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and we hope you guys all stay safe. Right?
No doubt.
That's bigger than anything else, guys. But Boxing Source puts forth a good point. Guys, Terrence Crawford, he may be one of the promoters in name only, but that's for tax purposes. Okay? Because he doesn't have the infrastructure in place to promote an event on his own. Okay? So this guy wants to be able to call the shots and to be able to dictate how money gets spent when he has no knowledge of putting on a big promotion. But that's well within his right. If everything is going to be flowing through him and he's going to be taking no guarantee, he has every right to be able to see where every dollar goes. And he's going to find out in the hardest way that, boy, that site fee pays for everything, pays for the bulk of the promotion, pays for the entire undercard. Okay? He's going to see where all of that money goes, and he's going to be shocked as to how much money his promotional, his terrible promoter in the past, Top Rank, right? And I'm using that in jest. Okay, he's going to find out exactly how much they spent in every single event that he was ever featured. He's going to find out, and let me tell you, it's going to be a shock. Lodging, okay, meals, flights, having backups, okay, finding opponents for the undercard, finding matchups, making matchups for the undercard. Okay, he's not participating in any of this yet wants to have a hand and wants to have a say in how all money is dispersed. He's going to find out that Top Rank, not ESPN, is the one who paid for all promotional spots.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, EJ. You have to go to sleep.
I wrote you a note in the private chat.
Okay,
Guys,
EJ. Let me just tell you, EJ. God bless you, brother, and our prayers and our thoughts are with you, my friend. And keep fighting. And we can't wait to see you back in action in your channel, my friend. Yeah, my full support.
EJ, I wish I would have had a chance to chop it up, man. You know I love you, brother. So I mean, this is the first time we would have been on the channel for like same channel on for a minute now, bro.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. And guys,
I hope everything's good with you, brother.
Hey, Keys, Major Keys, be careful, brother, please, man.
No, we're good now. We're good now. The storm passed, man. But I appreciate it, man.
All right, guys. God bless y'all, and to the chat, God bless y'all too. Good night, everybody.
Blessings,
God bless you, EJ. You have a wonderful evening, sir, and thank you for being a part of the show, sir. I tell you what, EJ's a great guy, and I hope everyone keeps EJ in their prayers. I mean, he's a very good guy, and he supports everyone. So
Joe,
please support him.
Can I jump
Major
on you
Key, the floor is yours, sir.
I'm gonna jump on you real quick, Joe, because it sounds like you are like me right now. You're a little bit on the drink right now. Or am I correct? Can I say the truth? Are we both on the drink right now?
No, sir. I'm actually of sound mind and body, and everyone who frequents this show understands what I've been going on.
Did you say that I'm not of sound mind and body because I'm on the drink? I'm a little upset because I thought you would understand those different frequencies. However, what I'm gonna say is that I think
no, Major Key, I'm just speaking relatively, sir.
No, I'm just saying, like, as far as the topic is concerned, I want to know, like, because it sounds like you want to ask the question, but you're also trying to like say your point. Like, do you want us to answer the question? Because when it comes to this particular one, Joe, I think that I think it is a 50-50 fight. Let's be honest, bro. Like, and I think it's a great topic, and it's been a great topic for so long, where we can't just bar the conversation. It just has to be open mic. When it comes to a conversation like this, it has to be open mic, bro. There can be no holds barred when it comes to this. Would you agree?
Hey, man, of course, as you were, brother. And once again, as I always state on this channel, when it comes to pre-fight prognostications, there are no right or wrong answers until the fight ensues. Right.
Absolutely.
So everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And you may think that Crawford's going to knock out Errol Spence. I just disagree. That's all.
How did you project that, by the way, that I said what I said? How did you project that?
No. I'm just assuming. Or not assuming. I'm just giving a hypothetical.
Yes,
that's all.
No.
I'm just giving a hypothetical, brother. So here's your opportunity to state your case and why you think.
All right.
Because I've already stated that Errol Spence is going to win this fight. He's going to win a comfortable decision if this fight takes place. And guys, it will. So go ahead, brother. The floor is yours, brother. Please state your case.
It's a beautiful thing to think that, right? And I love Errol Spence as well. Great fighter. Absolutely great fighter, man. Just out of his league when he fights a Terrence Crawford. Simply just out of his league. A Terrence Crawford beats him because a Terrence Crawford is actually brought up through those different wrinkles of 3 different weight divisions, undisputed at 1, and has been champion in each of those, is champion in this weight division, will become undisputed if they ever get in the fucking ring together. And the reason why is because he changes the pace. He has both. He may switch. He has both styles, but he may switch this way. He may not switch that way. You never know. He may just keep you one way and keep you frustrated because you're thinking that he's going to switch and you're waiting to set him up with something, and he's watching you. He's watching you. Yo, Terrence Crawford is a beast in the ring. That's why he stepped to him years ago and told him that he would bring it to him. He said, yo, you need a belt. He got a fucking belt. He said, yo, you know what? You on the wrong side of the street. He left that promotional company. What the fuck is the excuse now? We're talking about net pay now. We're talking about net. We're talking about no guaranteed money. We're talking this is the argument now. Now we're listening to Max Kellerman arguing with people like literally is this what we're talking about now? Errol Spence, bro. I love Errol Spence. I'm not gonna shit on any boxer at all. But when it comes to money, you need to choose your advisors wisely. And if Al Heyman, and I'm not saying it is, but everybody gives praise to him first. If Al Heyman is advising you ill, what they call ill advisement, then yo, you need to reassess the whole situation and start looking for something else. Start putting your money into yourself and stop looking for back end money that's not going to get there, not going to allow you to actually have some money in the future where you start your own structure. Because if you keep waiting for money, all you're doing is paying bills, and you can't really start nothing for your future. So if that's what the whole plan is with the PBC, then fuck that, bro. That's just as bad as any other company.
Okay, so you're blaming Al Heyman for all of this, is what you're saying. Al Heyman and Errol Spence Jr. They're the fly in the ointment.
I didn't necessarily blame Al Heyman, but I said because the onus is on each individual. What I'm saying is that you need to assess everything, for what it is. I think I said that you need to assess everything for what it is. So if you're with the promotional company that's only wanting you to do this, if you're happy with that, hey, kudos to you. But don't try to come here and say, hey, you really want this fight for legacy, when your promoter's saying, no, we don't want you to fight for legacy. We want you to fight easy fights so you can make money. That's it.
Okay, well, all parties involved, and once again, actions have proven this. All parties involved are trying to make this fight a reality. Okay, because the real bosses of boxing have created a mandate. Everyone is demanding this fight. Okay, no one wants to see Errol Spence fight anyone else. No one wants to see Terrence Crawford fight anyone else at this time. Yes, of course, we'd love to see them involved in matchups against Jaron Boots Ennis, Emanis Stanionis, Virgil Ortiz. Those would be great. Okay, but at this time, everyone wants this fight to happen. Okay, so Al Heyman, he understands this. Steven Espinosa, he understands this. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., they understand this. So what's the problem?
So one question though for you, because I'm not sure, because I just jumped in late. Again, I apologize because I'm over here. We have no power. I just kind of jumped on right now late. But did you assess the situation where Max Kellerman was speaking to the gentleman and they were talking about the
I addressed that earlier in the show, and once again, he sounds like an ignorant pom-pom waver in this scenario. He should know better, being around this sport, being around these fearless individuals. These guys are fearless. They believe, both Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. believe that no one can beat them at 147 pounds.
I believe that too. Yeah,
there is no ducking within the business of boxing. That's a fan-driven concept. That's bullshit, and Max knows better.
Man,
okay, it's a ton of shit. I'm saying the fighters.
That's all the time, bro.
I think the promotional
No. I'm saying they're fighters. If you speak to the fighters individually, and this boxing historian, you're a fighter. You don't fear anyone. Now, their handlers, on the other hand, well, that's a completely different. And once again, it's risk versus reward in this scenario. When the real bosses of boxing, the fans, have created a mandate, they have no choice. You either fight this guy or you fucking retire. Because I guarantee you the real bosses of boxing are not going to support any of your future endeavors from this point forward unless you grant their request and make this fight a reality. If you don't, suffer the consequences financially. I guarantee you. No one would financially support. Hold on, TBH. My brother Boxing Source wanted to chime in on Major Key Boxing's comments, and then after that, we'll go to you. The floor is yours, Boxing Source. I'm going to step away for a second, but continue, sir. This is a great discussion, and Major Key, thank you for bringing all of this up, sir.
Absolutely.
Big up, Major Key. Hopefully everything is going to be all good there over in that coastal Florida.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I appreciate your support, man. I appreciate that.
It is over there in the Florida, man, with the hurricanes. I thought that for a while that was going to be a direct hit to Tampa, and I was really checking on folks from there from once it hit through now. So you know how it is with a lot of these major storms over in that area. So
yes, absolutely, man. I appreciate that, man.
There. So going off of what Joseph was saying after my last comment, when it comes to this fight with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, now there have been a lot of reporters way before Mike Coppinger that had made the statement that this particular fight was supposed to take place at a specific date at a specific location. Now, at this location and multiple locations in this city called Las Vegas, Nevada, there is, as Joseph mentioned, a site fee. And when there's a site fee, they are the ones that handle the purses for those fighters. So with that being said, whatever is set is usually agreed to by those fighters and who they work with. And once that is done, then everything else falls into place. So when you have a fight of this magnitude, when everything has pretty much been sorted out in the ring for this fight that take place, there really shouldn't be that many roadblocks as far as like having that fight happening. Now, when it comes to Errol Spence, he has done what he said he was going to do in taking care of business, what he in his side, because it is easier to deal with fighters that are within the same promotion. That's all across the board. Now, if you're dealing with a fighter that is not in that promotion, it's rare for them to do that unless if it's a fight that is of a magnitude where everybody makes a significant amount of money. That's why it has really happened in that sense. Okay. So,
well, TBS, and I respect you. I respect you fully, brother. Like, do you mind if I ask you a question though? Because you're gonna keep saying this, and what it sounds like is like you're saying like this is solidified as a fight, right? And you're stamping it over and over and over, and it doesn't sound to me like it's a solidified fight. And so, therefore, all of the negotiations that you're saying that should be in one's favor don't sound like it should be in anyone's favor at this point.
Here's the problem.
Boxing source. Can I interject, please? Major Key. Yeah, it's. Look, I've already explained this in the first part of the show. I'll go over it again. Okay, Mike Coppinger's report. Okay, it's like Chicken Little. He's saying the sky is falling, and that's not the case.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's not the case. This is a mere formality. Terrence Crawford, once again, requesting complete transparency spelled out in contract form. That's well within his right. And guess what? Al Heyman has to comply. In accordance, if he wants to be in accordance with the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act, he has to create complete transparency to any of his fighters that request it. To anybody. Okay, this is nothing adversarial.
Yeah,
this doesn't deviate from the norm.
See, I wasn't here. Again, I apologize for not being here at the beginning, but again,
no problem,
that makes
brother.
perfect
No problem.
sense of what you're saying right now. That makes perfect sense. That's what I was asking him, like to clarify that point, because I'm just trying to understand. Because I mean, I will have a different point of view still as far as Terrence Crawford. However, when it comes to negotiations, you guys seem to have that part of it already. That like you already settled the tone with this one on the conversation.
So let me address this. And you brought this up. You brought this up in your initial diatribe, and bravo, man, very well said. But and the reason why I'm going to address this again, because this seems to be a common misnomer among fight fans.
Ooh, wow. You got to use that word misnomer right, because I was waiting for you to say that. And you said it.
Thank you, brother. So everyone seems to be throwing daggers at Al Heyman because of what Mike Coppinger just reported. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're trying to walk Terrence Crawford in a terrible deal where he's not getting any pre-fight guarantee. Well, that's by design. And unfortunately, it was the only solution. Like, if they didn't agree to a no guarantee, pre-fight guarantee from Showtime, we wouldn't even be talking about this fight. It would be dead in the water. And once again, on this channel, we reported several months ago, before anyone else, okay, that this fight, that Terrence Crawford and Showtime were at an impasse. They were so far apart on their discussed guaranteed purse. Terrence Crawford was demanding at the final point, when I thought this fight was pretty much dead in the water. He was demanding 15 million rock. Showtime was only willing to guarantee 8.5 million. They were so far apart, it was absurd. And so Steven Espinosa finally had a heart-to-heart with Terrence Crawford, saying, look, brother, we're not trying to gyp you out of any money and leave any money on the table for you. We want everyone to make as much money as possible. And we believe in you guys. We believe in this event. But this is your previous numbers on pay-per-view, as well as your ratings on ESPN and HBO, respectively. Yep. Okay, they do not support a $15 million pre-fight guarantee until you can show us any other numbers. Okay, that's what we have to go by. And so I'm sorry, the people that I answer to, the people that actually create these budgets for our beloved boxing on Showtime, this is all they're willing to expend at this time. Unless you can show us different figures, this is it. We understand that quality of matchup matters, and we understand that fights opposite Amir Khan, opposite anyone else, opposite I'm sorry, the gentleman that he was on pay-per-view on HBO at 140.
They should have you or somebody like us sponsoring them, because you know what? We would be able to talk about it, about how much of a buzz it creates on these YouTube streets, because otherwise, what are you saying? Because otherwise, you're never going to know when the next fucking Google is going to pop, bro, when the next Bitcoin is going to pop, when the next whatever is going to pop. You need to have people that are in tune. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. My bad.
Now, I'm sorry. I forgot where I was now.
No. I'm just saying, like, because I think we're all intelligent. I think we all know what's going on.
Of course, you guys are.
I feel you, Major Key. I feel you. You know, and Joe knows about this, and you know, I feel like my story knows about this. But you know the term that they say: men lie, women lie, numbers don't, and numbers don't.
That's it. That's it. When you're talking about that big of an investment, boxing source,
right?
And Major Key,
and I'm going by numbers. I'm going by the numbers of, you know, me going to Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter when that fight was announced. Okay, boxing fans were saying, "Oh my goodness, yeah, this is a fight." But it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to buy tickets and go to the fight. It's another thing to buy a pay-per-view to see that fight. And when those numbers ain't adding up for how much money that they put together or they tried to pay off for those fighters, then it's not going to work for any fight of that magnitude or bigger. And that is why at the instant that Terrence Crawford said that he is leaving Bob Arum Top Rank, that there were other promoters in public stating that Terrence Crawford was not making sense for the numbers that he was getting paid.
That's it.
Okay,
that's it. But guys,
when you know that and the numbers show that, then once you have another fight that's up there for Terrence Crawford,
but bro, when you look at trajectory,
hold on, Major Key.
Go ahead. I'm
that makes sense on their part, so that no party loses money. And if that is the minimum that they could give out, that is it. Anything above that, they're not going to spend that, because they're not going to lose that much money in reference to a fight, even if it's of that magnitude.
You guys,
so Major Key, hold on, Major Key. Going back to my point, and I remember where I left off, right? Everyone is looking at, and you mentioned this, no pre-fight guarantee as a negative, right? You kind of stated, and once again, I'm only assuming that you actually thought of that as a negative. In my opinion, This is where all parties involved have gotten it right. Okay, why not? If you're a fighter and you're acting as your own promoter and manager, why not invest in yourself? If you're that convinced that the product is going to be a commercial and critical success, why not invest in yourself? Why actually make these absurd pre-fight guarantees and force the networks to pay for these absurd pre-fight guarantees that are way inflated? Okay, when you're already making the gross, rather than actually forcing a network in a position where they're more than likely going to fail, why not invest in yourself?
I would
Okay,
say
you
two
got you.
things.
Okay, so most networks or most fans don't understand of the pay-per-view proceeds anyway. Okay, they're not asking for a ton of money. Okay, now obviously, because there's no pre-fight guarantee as far as the licensing fee, all they're entitled to now is 10% of the gross pay-per-view revenue. Guess what? The fighters get everything else. Rather than having a financial threshold that tries to recover an inflated pre-fight guarantee, this is the right way to do things. This is, in my opinion, this is the business model that all big fight activity and negotiation should model themselves after. This is the right way to do it. So now you're putting the network and their chances for success, boy, in the hands of the fans, the real bosses of boxing. You're not putting them in a position to fail. This is the way. And while the pay-per-view revenue stream is broken, with piracy being the biggest problem that the business faces today, okay, now you're putting everyone in a position to succeed potentially. Now you're putting greater incentive to promote this event because everyone is rolling the dice, not just the network now. Okay, so in my opinion, all parties involved should be applauded for making that decision. This is not a negative. This is a positive thing for the business of boxing moving forward.
I got something to add on that, Joe. But I want to get you to add into this here real quick before I go.
No. I want y'all to go because I want to hear the full side of it because I'm in my mind like I'm still disagreeing, but I'm gonna elaborate once you guys go.
Okay, so this is what I was going to add to it. Okay, we're not naming fighters like a Deontay Wilder, Jamel Charlo, a Gervonta Tank Davis, and an Errol Spence, is because they have those little things that they have for promotions to kind of like, in a way, contribute towards making the event possible that they're a part of. So when it comes to having that event and when that event takes place, they're able to take in more of the money because they said, hey, I'm investing in myself. I'm the one that's the event. So I'm going to invest in myself and get returns that are basically from what I do. Now, when it comes to the pay-per-view model, it has changed in a sense. Yes, there's a lot of piracy, but also at the same token, there's also other methods of getting pay-per-view where it's not coming from the box anymore. It's coming from apps. And when it comes from that, then you also get a different type of revenue stream that's different than having it when it's from a cable carrier. So when you see like pay-per-view numbers that come out, sometimes it's a little bit different than it was in the past because now they get to take in more of that pay-per-view revenue as in comparison to like years past.
That is right on the money, Boxing Source. And guys, before I forget, let me just add, okay, if you're planning on purchasing any pay-per-view from this point forward, please purchase it directly on the network app.
That's right.
Do not purchase it through the antiquated cable and satellite distribution method because in years past, and just to further explain what Boxing Source astutely stated, Okay, they took a huge percentage in the past because there was no app back in the day. Okay, so they basically had the promoters and the fighters by the short hairs and the networks. Okay, they would take 50% right off the top. And why? Because not only were they delivering the package, but in the past they would also take 100% of the proceeds through their cable bills and satellite bills. Now they're not, the promoters, fighters, and networks are not at the mercy of the antiquated cable and satellite distribution method. So guys, if you're gonna purchase these fights, if you guys are planning on purchasing Wilder versus Hellenius for 75 Rock, purchase it through the Fox Direct streaming app. Do not purchase it through your cable bill. No, because the streaming app, the promoters, the networks, and the fighters get 100% of the gross.
Instead of sending a Cash App, instead of sending a super chat, go to Cash App and go to $ War a Week. That he's saying the same thing. They take 30%. They take 30% off of YouTube.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And
Thank you for
Cash
saying
App
that,
doesn't
Major
take
Key.
it. No, I understand.
You're
exactly
absolutely
what you're
right.
saying.
It's the same exact concept. So Boxing Source has the beat. Okay, if you want these guys to make money, okay, invest in a pay-per-view directly through the streaming app. Okay? Yeah. That way the fighters, the networks, and the promoters get 100% of everything. Yeah. They don't have to give these damn greedy cable and satellite distributors a huge percent of something that they had nothing to do with. They had they are not participating in the negotiation. They're not participating in paying the undercard. Okay, they're just delivering the package, and these greedy bitches are collecting a huge amount of money. TBH, you fell asleep, brother. Are you still with us?
Yo!
Okay, it looks like we're going to have to put him on mute, guys. That's all right. It's late, guys, and we want to thank everyone for hanging with us as long as they have been. Gosh, it's 2:30 on the East Coast. Yep. But I tell you what, I feel like I'm just getting started. So if you guys are willing, I'm willing to stay on as well.
I'm waiting for you to let me get my rebuttal in here. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sorry, Major Key, as you were, brother. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, no, and I respect both of you brothers. Both of you brothers are very intellectual. I understand that, and this is why I enjoy these conversations, because I understand business, I understand everything. But when it comes to Terrence Crawford, what I feel like is like, look, this guy made his own bed, right? He shouldn't sleep in Errol Spence's bed just because Errol Spence. Look, his own side says that. You know, they don't really want to fight. Like, look, we forgot one part of what what's his name? Max Kellerman was talking about, which was that they really were just looking for back end money, no guarantee. I mean, this guy was guaranteed 4 point something beforehand. So you told him that he was under the devil, the robber, and you can't, come. You have to come to our side of the street to make it right. But now on our side of the street, now we can't even make the fight unless like you give your whole fucking stead up, like you give your homestead, you give your children, your right thumb, your left finger, you know what I'm saying, your liver. Like, come on, man.
No, that's not accurate. And,
look, I'm just saying this is what it seems like to you saying it's not accurate.
Well,
here's the thing.
Once again, this is the entire reason for this program, Major Key.
No, Joe, can we just say one? Can I just say one thing? I just want to agree, at least before I shut up. I want to agree moving forward that we don't know what's going on actually in the negotiations. We're just hearing stuff and we're interpreting it for ourselves. Is that correct?
No, that's not accurate, because I've been talking to someone who is going to remain nameless, but is very knowledgeable of the negotiation. And Boxing Source can attest to this. I've been very accurate in stating the exact figures. You're not going to hear this on any other channel. Okay, because of someone who's giving me this information. And once again, I'm not going to name drop.
No, don't name drop.
Anyone who's familiar with this channel understands who exactly this is.
All right, don't name drop. Just tell me the figure so I can understand what you mean. Like, if you
Okay,
could just
so
help elaborate.
going back once again, it's obvious that you missed the first part of the show, and now I'm more
Yes,
than happy to
absolutely. And
restate
I
this. Okay,
apologize again, brother. I
that's all
apologize
right.
again,
That's all
brother.
right.
You know what I mean?
So
But I'm
once
making it
again,
interesting right now, bro. We're making it hot right now. So that's all that matters. You know what I mean?
thank you, brother. And I'll tell you what, do this first shot of the evening. Here's to you guys. I'm gonna do my first shot of the evening. Thank you, guys.
Oh man, wait, hold up.
So going back, guys, this was the only reason why
I'm
we're
not gonna
even
take a
still.
shot because I took like 5 shots while we were talking. So, all right.
Well, God bless you, brother. But I will say this. The only reason, once again, I stated this earlier in the show, the only reason why we're even still talking about this ongoing negotiation is because all parties involved, okay, agreed to a no fight, pre-fight guarantee. Because they were so far apart with the money, that was the only solution in making this fight a reality. Okay, Terrence Crawford initially began negotiations demanding $22 million. And I think everyone can safely say that is well beyond his market value, right? That's an absurd amount of money. Okay? Showtime, they started negotiations at $5 million in pre-fight guarantee for their licensing fee. Okay, they basically said, look, we're going as high as we can, and that's $8.5 million. That's it. They were so far apart, and 2 months ago, I projected that this fight was dead in the water because they were such at a severe impasse. Yeah. Well, this was the solution, and this is why I said all parties involved should be applauded for agreeing to a no pre-fight guarantee, and everyone seems to be viewing that as a negative.
So, brother, let me ask you this question. If they were to go to first bid and the zone were to take that and have the Arabs behind him and actually put a real publication behind it and a real push behind that whole fight and actually muster up that revenue across the world, don't you think
here's
that's
why they don't want to do that, Major Key?
Here's
why they don't want to do that.
The PBC doesn't want to do that. But
here's why it's not a good idea to do that in terms of staying consistent with the business of boxing and the rules put forth by the great men who made the sport what it is. Okay, location in every matchup is everything. There's a reason why Fury versus Dillian Whyte took place in the UK. Okay, there's a reason. Because think about if you sell this matchup to the Saudis, what time would this fight be taking place in the United States?
All right, look. What I'm trying to say is, if it's the zone, you have it at whatever the fuck time it happens, and you have Conor Benn in the crowd saying, "I want the winner." You know what I mean?
That's an impossibility because of the exclusive deal that PBC has with Showtime.
Well, no, but that's where we're going back to PBC. That's what I'm trying to say. Like this is where the problem is. I just said if it goes to first bid and the zone picks it up.
Look. First of all, once again, going back to the business of boxing, this would not be. This is an undisputed unification. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's no sanctioned organization to rely on to push this to first bid. So let's just get that out of the way. There's no way in Hades that this matchup could possibly be forced into a person.
So you're saying none of the sanctioning bodies are going to push that?
No, they have no grounds to do it.
There's no grounds for it. There's never been like any instance where an undisputed or unified championship fight went to
is forced by the sanctioning organizations.
Now
that's crazy.
Now I want to ask a few questions, from a historical perspective, to Brother Major Key. I mean, you might know these answers, you might not know these answers. But
it's okay.
It goes into a historical perspective and how this fits into why there is an impasse, as Joseph Heron has stated. Now, going back to November 20th, 2021, Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter. Do you know the purse that was put up for that particular fight?
Yes, $10 million.
First it was 1 million, and then it was 2 million, I believe.
No, but it ended up being 10 million.
$10 million.
Yeah, but
Yes.
the first two offers. You asked me what the first offer was, right? Wasn't it 1 million?
No, I was saying what the purse was, not the offers, in reference to the purse.
Oh, okay, got you. My bad. I understood it as the offer. I thought you said offer, and the first offer was 1 million.
And because that was a WBO sanctioned fight, right? That was one that could have easily gone to purse bid, right? Because it was a WBO title mandatory defense, right? That's totally different. And what determined, though, the split? Okay, they looked at all of the previous paychecks from Sean Porter's last 3 fights, and that's how they determined a 60-40 split in favor of the champion. It was very reasonable and very generous to Sean Porter because he's not a fucking ticket seller, but he's the product of receiving inflated purses from Al Heyman. Okay, so it was very generous and very fair to all parties involved, but it put Top Rank in a very serious predicament. Because if you've grown accustomed to paying Terrence Crawford a guaranteed $4 million per fight, regardless of opposition, well, how much should he get then for facing a guy like Sean Porter? Who's an elite level fighter, right? So that put them in a serious predicament. So now if we're expected to guarantee and pay Terrence at minimum $6 million, that means we're going to have to pay Sean Porter $4 million, 60-40 split. Now, okay, so that tied their hands and put them in a position to fail. That's my point.
Right. But
so why tie the hands of a network or a promoter and put them in a position to fail? This scenario, specifically for Crawford Spence, is the right way to do things.
Now, I bring that up in reference to Crawford, and as you mentioned, the guarantee, it's because there's times when I, have debates with people that do support Crawford, but don't talk about Crawford in a business sense. And when it's Crawford and he has a high guarantee, he has one of the highest guarantees in the sport of boxing. And I usually compare him to a Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan. That's right, Saul Canelo Alvarez. Okay? And when you're dealing with Canelo Alvarez, who has the biggest guarantees in boxing, but his numbers show for it, regardless of who he fights. So they can give him a guarantee of a 30 million or 40 million. It really doesn't matter. Why? Because usually they get the returns for Canelo's fights. But when you do that, you have to set a minimum for the opponents that he has. So if he's fighting somebody like a Billy Joe Saunders or a Caleb Plant, they have a minimum guarantee for those particular fights. And so they're going to be paid that certain minimum guarantee. Now, on the flip side, with Terrence Crawford, as was mentioned, you have to pay Sean Porter a certain amount. And if the numbers don't show for it in Mandalay Bay on November 20th, 2021, guess what? They're going to lose a lot of money. And if those books show that fights with Crawford against Porter, fights with Crawford against Amir Khan, fights with Crawford against Agidizis Kavaliauskas, don't give them the returns. It doesn't matter who the promotional company is. They're not going to invest in Terrence Crawford. It's not like Canelo Alvarez. Why? Because you had somebody like Eddie Hearn go public and talk about Terrence Crawford and how he loses money, but he's dealt with someone like Canelo Alvarez on multiple occasions because he knows that he could get money having Canelo Alvarez under Matchroom Boxing. But you can't have that with Terrence Crawford.
You can't have the same. You can't have the same, but I'm pretty sure you can have some. But and this is the build up.
Here's the issue. You also have to have fighters available for him to fight that would make sense. And as Terrence Crawford has said multiple times, if the fight makes sense, the fight will get made. If it doesn't make sense, then the fight won't get made. And when it comes to Terrence Crawford, regardless of what TV platform he's under, ESPN Plus, HBO, it doesn't matter. If the numbers don't add up, then he's losing money across the board. That's why Showtime initially came to him with a $5 million.
But Crawford is not under any network anymore.
Okay,
He's not signed with Top
Well,
Rank.
look,
Top Rank
Major
has a
Major Key, going back to the original discussion, right, of the show. This is what has made this negotiation such a painstaking process for everyone involved, because Terrence Crawford doesn't have experience management or promotion negotiating for him. And I made this analogy. It's just like showing up to criminal court, hoping for the best verdict, and representing yourself without attorney, without legal counsel. It's the equivalent.
Okay, so I hear that. That makes perfect sense. I hear that.
This is why we've been talking about this negotiation since June, and it hasn't been fruitful up to this point. Okay, because he doesn't have someone like Top Rank or Matchroom Sport or Golden Boy Promotions even representing him.
What I'm trying to say is look, I hear what I mean. I just want a chance to just give my piece. You know, all I'm trying to say is that I do understand where y'all coming from, but unless everybody's, and you just said you have somebody that you have that's in a negotiating room or whatever. Okay, well then that's awesome. But I'm just saying that what it looks like to me as a common observer, and what I can do in life, the best thing that I can do in life after 42 years is observe. I can tell you what the fuck a person is probably like, their date of birth, what sign they are, what job they have, just by looking at them in regular clothing. I'm just good at that, right? What I'm saying is, when I'm observing this for what's going on right now, it seems to me like it's not extra, it's not extraordinary what's going on. It's nothing beyond our understanding. It's literally just PBC is not trying to sign him to fight that deal. That's what it seems like.
Initially, that was the objective. Okay, and this fight would have already probably happened by now if Terrence Crawford had agreed to sign with Al Heyman for an advisory deal for his next 3 fights. This fight would have already been negotiated, would have already been promoted, and by this time would have already happened. They wanted initially to stage this fight before football season, which makes 100% sense. Now, hold on. So I'm gonna answer this question because it's obvious our brother Khalid is late to the show. Thank you for joining us at this time. First of all, Khalid, we appreciate you always hanging with us, my friend. He says, Adam, and he's talking to Adam Montequilla Lopez, my brother. He says, why not just accept the $8 million guarantee? I'm confused on why Crawford would take 0. Because he felt, and I'm going to leave this up here, because he felt, okay, that they weren't matching his realistic market value. Now, keep in mind, guys, Terrence Crawford, okay, and you can't fault him because he's been receiving inflated purses from Top Rank. As shitty as he claims that they treated him, okay, he was receiving the biggest guarantees of anyone in the welterweight division. Bigger than Errol Spence Jr., right? A $4 million guarantee is astronomical in this business.
By far.
Okay, and unless you're a huge market commodity, that just doesn't happen. But they wanted to keep him, and they were so confident that they could. And once again, you can't fault Bob Arum and Top Rank. After putting together the great deal that was Fury and Wilder 2 and 3, they were completely confident that Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford was next. Okay? But after both fights lost money for both Fox and ESPN, okay, that wasn't going to happen. That's the problem. So why not just accept the $8 million guarantee? I'm confused on why Crawford would take 0. Well, here's why. He believes, because he's a product of receiving inflated purses, he believes that he's worth more than the $8 million. He's willing to invest in himself and not leave any money on the table. He believes that this fight is going to be a huge commercial and critical success.
Joe, I think he's convinced otherwise, though, because here's what I'm gonna say. I'm from Central Florida. I used to be a timeshare resale quality assurance manager, and I worked closely with the vice president and the legal counsel, right? In that whole business. And what I'm gonna say is basically, you can think that your timeshare that you bought was worth $30,000, but then when I tell you that, hey, let's go on to this popular timeshare website, and I'm going to show you that your timeshare is actually worth $1. You know why? Because it's actually a buyer's market, and it depends. And this is a niche sport, bro. It's a niche sport.
That's
and
it. You hit the nail right on the head,
market, bro.
You hit the nail right on the head, and that's why Steven Espinosa and Showtime, right? Okay, is insisting that. Sorry, an $8.5 million guarantee is quite generous when you consider how broken the current pay-per-view revenue stream is because of piracy.
Yep.
But on the flip side, it's why Terrence Crawford at least wants his guarantee instead of a $0 guarantee.
No. That was his decision.
No.
That was his decision. See,
what you said was right.
You're speaking.
What you said was right, but it's also in the middle.
Hold on, Major Key. Hold on, brother. You're speaking under the pretense that Terrence Crawford was cornered into a $0 guarantee. That was his decision. He believes that Showtime Sports is completely miscalculating his worth and his market value with this specific matchup. He says, screw that, dude. I know I'm worth a lot more. Okay? I know I'm worth a lot more.
So you're saying that because he wasn't guaranteed something, it's his fault that he doesn't believe in himself?
No. Major Key, you assume too much. I'm saying that this is the right moving forward, understanding that the pay-per-view revenue stream is not what it used to be. This is the right course of action for every major fight moving forward. Once again, this sport, the health of this sport is completely reliant on TV dates. And Showtime, ESPN, DAZN, they depend on these big matchups actually being fruitful financially for them. And if they continue to lose money on these big events, what happens to the other TV dates throughout the course of the year? They evaporate. They go to Bellator, or they go to guys like Jake Paul. Right?
All right, what are you both of you gentlemen saying about this specific fight though? Are you guys saying that Terrence Crawford should take less, and just like
no.
Take back their money? That's what I'm asking you guys. That's what I'm asking you guys.
You're misunderstanding this, Major.
No, that's what I'm asking. No, I'm not misunderstanding because I'm asking.
We'll have to catch you up. And Joseph basically stated this initially. When the talks were starting for this particular fight to happen, they were discussing guarantees. They were giving out numbers for those guarantees. But the problem was that they were so far apart in the initial offers that they had to come down to a certain point, and that the last point was that Showtime could say the most that they could guarantee is $8.5 million. Crawford would not budge without saying $15 million for a guarantee. So that's how far apart they were as of a couple of months ago.
And this is verified, right? That's what y'all saying?
That's verified.
All right. If it's verified, then I got nothing else to say. Then I stand corrected. But if it's not verified,
this is why I don't understand. And once again, this is the purpose of this show. Right, is to spell everything out for everyone from a business perspective. Okay, this is our forte. And I don't understand why everyone is looking at this $0 pre-fight guarantee as a negative. Guys, this is the only reason why we're still talking about this matchup being a realistic possibility.
I can explain that. Do you want me to explain that?
No. I understand because that's what we've grown.
No, but you just said you don't understand why everybody. You just said you don't understand why everybody looks at the 0%
as a negative. Yeah, when you're looking at the business of boxing, I understand that most people are looking at what we've seen up to this point But what's wrong with a fighter investing in himself, especially if he's acting as his own promoter and management?
Because this is a gangster's playground, my friend. Like this is not, nothing's guaranteed, bro. Like that like everybody knows that this sport you can't count on, bro. Nobody's paying your bills afterwards. You need your money up front. Like they're like, come on, man. Like
why?
Because it's boxing.
Look,
it's like
if
no
you
other
want
sport in the world.
look, if you want to, Major Key, if you want to try and wear the big boy pants, and you want to be your own promoter, and you want to be your own manager, and you want to eliminate all of the hands in your pockets, well, then you had better look at all of the costs that are expended customarily from the networks and the promoters. And that's right now the role that Terrence Crawford wants to play in his own career. And that's justifiable. Okay, that's his decision. And you have to applaud that. That's fine. Okay, but well, you got a healthy dose of reality. Once you actually wear that cap, you have to understand, man, that there's a lot of expense paid for customarily by the networks and the promoters, and the fighters customarily just collect the paycheck. They put forth their efforts in the ring, and God bless them for doing it. Okay, but if you want to be a promoter, you want to be your own manager, okay, then boy, you're gonna have to look at all of the costs, okay, involved. And this is going to be a healthy dose of reality for not only Terrence Crawford, but every fighter moving forward. This is why I applaud this decision for everyone involved. It's about time that fighters understand the business of boxing and quit putting the networks in a losing proposition consistently with these enormous inflated pre-fight guarantees.
But that's
what, and so once again, so I'm asking you, Major Key, I'm going to ask you, what's wrong with the fighter investing in himself, not leaving?
I actually said the opposite. I said he should invest himself, and I think that PBC is trying to take away from his game.
No, that's a misnomer. No one is trying to. No one is trying to take anything away from Crawford.
Let me land my plane, though, Joe. Like, you know, I'm being honest here. I'm not or over talking nobody. I'm just trying to say, like, when it comes down to it, Terrence Crawford wants his fight. And at the end of the day, what people are saying is that he needs to fall in line with the PBC. But you just said that there's different platforms, there's different networks. And just because the champion that has the other belts happens to be for PBC, he has to work with them. So now they're trying to take advantage of him, and it doesn't make sense.
Who's trying to take advantage of whom, Major Key? That's what I'm saying. That's a huge misnomer among fans.
Let me step in.
Who's trying to take advantage of whom?
I think with the fact that there's no guarantee money up front, that
has nothing to do with PBC. That has everything to do with the network and the fighters. Okay,
right,
so once again,
then maybe they should negotiate it with some other.
No. Look. If you had a more lucrative offer from ESPN or DAZN or any other network, guess what? You don't. You don't. This is something, and this is the perplexing problem with boxing. You have a huge diehard matchup like this. This is the fight that every diehard fight fan has been clamoring for the past 3 years. Crawford versus Spence. This is it. This is the biggest fight that you can make among diehards. But guess what? It's a completely different market when you look at the guys who are actually purchasing these pay-per-views. Okay, let's make no bones about it. The great majority, and I'm saying the great majority of diehard fight fans are streaming this shit illegally. They're depending on a huge mainstream audience, hopefully purchasing this great matchup. But go, and once again, I often ask my listeners, right, to go take the stranger test and see how big this matchup is on a mainstream level. Next time you're at the grocery store, Major Key, ask the person behind you, hey, who wins, Spence versus Crawford?
I know.
They're going to say, who the fuck are those guys? Are they basketball players?
They don't know who Andre is neither, but everybody fucking thinks that Andre is being ducked by Canelo. So everybody knows who Canelo is, but nobody knows who Andre is. But everybody thinks Canelo's ducking Andre.
Exactly. So that's the quandary surrounding this matchup.
I have to,
and that's the plight that Showtime has had in trying to negotiate this deal with someone who is completely out of touch with the mainstream sports fan in America. That's been the problem in negotiating this deal the entire time. Okay, is Terrence Crawford is completely out of touch with his own market value, and that's not necessarily his fault.
Way out of touch.
Yep.
He is completely out of touch. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. The problem with Terrence Crawford is he does not realize that there is no other place for him to go.
And look, and I've stated this also on this show. The way he's been negotiating. After this fight, if his market value isn't exponentially increased among the mainstream and casual sports viewing audience, okay, he might as well retire, because no one after this experience, no one is going to want to work with him from this point forward.
Now I'm going to lay this out. I've already stated that there have been other promoters that have shown that his value is not what he says it is. Now, Showtime, Al Heyman, Tom Brown, or TGB Promotions, or whoever it was, in order to try to make this fight happen, have approached him on multiple occasions, even before April, that they said, hey, this is how we're going to approach you, because this is what we see and this is how things are going to work. Now, they have worked with other fighters for years before and how to structure their deals so that their fighters get as much money possible, and all parties involved are pretty much well off with what they have to do. So what happened was, in the Spence Ugas fight, all parties involved pretty much were happy on what was happening at that particular instance. So they said, hey, let's see if we could strike and get this deal done ASAP. That's why when Joseph mentioned that, hey, they wanted to see if they could get this done and have the fight in the summer, because there wasn't going to be no football, no basketball, none of the major events happening at that particular time. So everybody could just focus on that. Because, like, say, for example, August, like when Spence was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao in August 20th of that year, that was a prime time for them to have a fight of that magnitude, because there was nothing from the American side that could have people's attention away from that type of event. So
that's right. The only major sport in America that you're competing with, okay, is Major League Baseball regular season.
Well, but we left
doesn't compare to Crawford Spence.
We left the point, though, gentlemen. We left the point. The point was, hold on 1 second, just to bring it back to the point, because we left the point. The point was that they can't, right, sell, right, because so many people are streaming, yet you want Crawford to say, hey, yeah, I'll take everything on the back end. That makes absolutely no sense.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me ask you something then, Major Key. Why then would you put the network, okay, in a position to fail when they're the ones who the sport is most reliant on? They're the ones who furnish all the teammates.
You can't put the network. You can't put that. You know better than that. You can't put the network to fail, though, Joe. You know better than that. The network is either going to agree because they agree, or they don't agree, one or the other. And you know why they agree? When they agree is because they're selling the rights across seas. So we didn't want to get it. You guys tell you that you don't want to.
Major Key, once again, I'm going to ask you a question. You tell me then, when is the last time a network, an American-based network, has actually made money on a high-price guaranteed pay-per-view? When is the last time?
On a high-price guaranteed pay-per-view?
Yep.
Shit, man. You now you're talking about overseas and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
No. I'm talking about domestically. And once again,
no, I mean,
hold on. Look at the last big time pay-per-view that didn't include Canelo Alvarez. Okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, domestically, that would have
no. I'm hold on.
No, that domestically, that probably would have been Javante.
No. I'm talking about a big time pay-per-view event. Okay,
Big
one that
time recently?
one that the networks invested over $10 million to promote. You have to go back to Wilder versus pay-per-view 2. Or I'm sorry, Wilder versus Fury pay-per-view 2.
Okay,
Right?
so that was
Okay, so because listen, because they guaranteed $50 million purse to both fighters, 25 to Wilder, 25 to Fury. Even after a $19 million gate, guess what? They still fucking lost money. Even though it did 820,
was
even
that
though it
PPC
did,
by itself?
hold on. Even though it did over 100,
was that PPC by itself?
No. It was ESPN Fox. Now,
Okay.
once again, that's a
So
huge misnomer.
That kind of like slices that argument in the middle.
No, it doesn't, brother. I'm looking at gross numbers. Okay, and gross.
If you just
revenue.
talking about just PBC itself, it was that's what I thought you were saying.
No.
Saying
Look. Listen.
If
Let me
you're
finish.
looking about now
Major
mixing
Key,
up with other
let me
people,
finish for a second, brother. Let me finish,
go ahead,
okay?
Yeah.
Because once again, and this is coming straight from Bruce Trampler of Top Rank. He said because the pre-fight guarantees were astronomical, and because piracy is such a huge problem, the event lost money. The networks both lost money. So once again, why do you want to understanding that piracy is the biggest issue concerning the business of boxing?
So then what's the point of going pay-per-view?
Listen for a second.
What's the point of going pay-per-view?
Exactly, brother. It's a broken revenue stream. And Top Rank has
we're going to agree on that one. I'm going to agree on that one. I think that we finally got to a point with that one.
Here, listen. Let me finish for a second. Top Rank, Bob Arum has the beat. He understands that the only way you're going to help this sport grow once again, because fact is it's become a niche sport out of the consciousness of the mainstream and casual audience. Okay? So in order to make this help this sport grow once again, you've got to keep the best matchups off pay-per-view. But with these absurd pre-fight demands from these fighters, okay, it's impossible. That's why I'm saying this is creating a positive model for the future of boxing. Okay, because and once again, I'm gonna throw some stats at you because I'm a musician, I'm privy to Museo, right? That's the digital music tracking device. According to Museo, okay, Fury versus Wilder 2, according to domestic pay-per-view purchases, did 825,000. Do you know how many people streamed it illegally worldwide? Over 15 million. That's how much money you're losing. That's how much money you're leaving on the table, right? In my opinion, it's very noble of Terrence Crawford to want to invest in yourself, but he would have been much smarter taking the $8.5 million guarantee and pay-per-view proceeds on the back end. In my opinion, Showtime and Steven Espinoza, they were being quite generous. Terrence Crawford, once again, he has no knowledge of the business of boxing, minimal. And he's going to find out the hard way, boy, that he should have taken that guarantee, in my opinion. Now, I hope I'm proven. Now, once again, I hope I'm proven wrong. And I hope that everyone invests in this pay-per-view when it's finally announced. And if they do, please purchase it directly through the Showtime app. That way the fighters, the promoters, and the networks get 100% of the proceeds. But in my opinion, this was a very foolish.
If you have a Deontay Wilder versus Helenius fight on pay-per-view for $75, guaranteed you're going to have this fight on pay-per-view. So don't even question that. That's going to happen. Don't worry about that, brother.
No, well, look. It's different, though. Deontay Wilder, as a result of the brilliant promotion on the second fight with Fury, okay, like it or not, he is a much bigger mainstream commodity than either Spence or Crawford or even both of them put together. Like I said, now, once again, it's hard for us to comprehend this because we're diehards. We know, we can tell you who the current IBF title holder is at 130 pounds. Right? Most people, most sports fans in America Okay, they have no idea. Like, they can tell you who Deontay Wilder is, but they can't tell you who Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford is. The great majority of them can't. In my opinion, it was quite foolish. But hey, fighters need to understand that the current pay-per-view revenue stream is broken, in my opinion, beyond repair. Piracy is the biggest problem concerning the business of boxing at this time.
These major fighters don't understand that. And here's the thing in reference to the pay-per-view model when it comes to that. From what I've seen over this year, including January 1st of this year, is that when you have a main event with a purse that is around $1 million or higher, the promoters will pretty much say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I just can't put this on network television. I can't put this on cable. I'm going to have to put this on pay-per-view. Now, that means...
Well, no, wait. Well, hold on, Boxing Source. It's not the promoters that actually determine that. It's the networks.
It's the networks.
Like guys, hold on. Let me put to rest this huge misnomer among fight fans. Okay, and even people into the business that don't fucking know any better. Okay, there's been a lot of criticism about Wilder and Al Heyman putting this, quote unquote, on pay-per-view, this fight with Hellenius. Guys, that's a decision of Fox. Okay, and one of the reasons why they're putting it on pay-per-view, they're trying to recover as much money as they possibly can because they're giving this huge pre-fight guarantee to Deontay Wilder. Okay, so, and the reason why it's not on, because you look at all the other Fox programming, football, everything else, right? Other sports, MLB, NBA, the reason why they're able to put these other sports on regular primetime and regular Fox, right? Because they can actually garner the sponsorship that's going to make back that money.
There you go.
Boxing can't. At this time, boxing can't. It's become a niche sport in America. So they can't make back that money. The network cannot make back that money on sponsorship alone. So they are forced to attach the pay-per-view revenue stream.
Joe, do you also have somebody in Wilder's camp, Joe?
I'm sorry?
Do you also have someone in Wilder's camp?
What are you asking me?
I'm asking you that not to be facetious. I'm literally asking because now we're going into Wilder, right? And the whole thing that
no. This is just hold on. This is just a mere example. You're missing the point.
But it's
this is just talking about the pay-per-view revenue stream and just my knowledge of the business and who determines.
But you said that why he's gonna go for pay-per-view because this and that they need to pay him and he has a certain amount. Blah blah blah. What I'm trying to say is that when you say something like that, people are listening, right? So here's the thing: when you say something like that, we can't forget that now what you're kind of putting a stamp on is that PBC as a company, he was one of the staples of the company, and so everybody was counting on him. Like they were counting. He was one of the main people that were supposed to be. Remember, they got such a great stable. They have so many people, like over 200 fighters. It's in most people's eyes unsustainable. This is why they're charging pay-per-view for everything. And
look.
It's true. So
no, major boxing.
Let me let it play. So when it comes down to it, Deontay Wilder didn't actually win last time against Wilder. He didn't win the time before that, and at this point, they probably still had in the business plan money invested in him that's guaranteed to him. You're right. They probably did.
Major Key, I have to cut you off, brother. Major Key
doesn't make it okay for everything else, though.
Major Key, I have to cut you off because you're explaining and trying to debate under the misnomer. Here, listen. You're trying to actually argue and explain under the misnomer that PBC has anything to do with determining whether or not this is pay-per-view. They don't. This is all the network. The
This is
network
not literally.
determines this.
I'm not arguing, brother. You got to understand. This is boxing we're talking about, right? This is what I've been doing
Okay. So
on
I'm
YouTube
trying to
for a long
explain to
time as
you.
well.
Okay,
But look, but you can't say it's a misnomer because it's
It
a
is.
misnomer because you don't know his contract, right? So it's a misnomer
No.
of
This
you
has
speaking on his behalf.
Deontay.
Hold
This
on.
has nothing to do with determining whether or
Then
not
why did you
something
bring
is
him
on
up? Because you
pay-per-view.
brought him up. So that's what I was sticking to.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You what did you just say?
Could I?
No. If you don't know me, guys, my name is Major Key Boxing, bro. I've been. I'm sorry if you say it as a debate. I'm not a debater, but I do speak boxing. And when I say something, Joe, I respect you. I respect you, TBS. I respect everybody. I'm not trying to get on some wrong shit here. What I'm trying to say is don't tell me it's a misnomer as if it's a casual thing to say to somebody that actually watches boxing and cares about boxing. If you care about boxing as much as I do, which I believe you guys do, then actually give me the credit to have a real dialogue with me and not just try to say, oh, it's a misnomer and blase when I'm bodying you on a subject that you have no fucking conscious like level of. Like you're not saying anything that you know from the contract because you're not there. So there, that's what I'm pointing out.
Look,
Hold on.
Major Key, you're taking offense to something that wasn't
No,
intended
well,
to be offensive.
because you said that what you said back then a couple minutes ago, before I started ranting, was something that I took offensive because you said,
why?
Hey, because you said basically that you're just you're taking it wrong. It's a misnomer.
No.
You've been saying misnomer like over and over and over and over and over.
Look.
Guys, come on, let's get on the same page here.
Major Key, with all due respect, I'm going to be completely blunt. Because of your previous statement, it's obvious you don't understand what determines what's on pay-per-view and what's not these days. Now, once again, if you look at much healthier eras, what determined what was on pay-per-view and what wasn't? It was huge events. Nowadays, networks are putting these events on pay-per-view out of necessity.
My brother, you see, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that you said that I don't understand what makes something pay-per-view when I pay for pay-per-view.
Why would you?
When my grandmother paid for pay-per-views. No, my brother, you're mistaken here. You don't understand yourself why PBC is not selling pay-per-views. That's what the problem that you have is. You're trying to sell a pay-per-view for the PBC, but it's not going to work because the PBC is not selling it themselves, bro. They're not selling it. You can't sell it, no matter how you spin it for them. It's not going to happen.
Hold on, brother. Now, once again, I'm going to mute you for a second, because all of this, and I don't know why you're getting so heated about this and emotional about this, because it's blatantly obvious.
No emotion. Don't say emotion.
Well, no, you're getting upset about this, and I'm sorry for that because
I'm being fair.
I have no idea why you're getting upset about this.
I'm not being upset. I'm trying to. You trying to throw daggers back at me about the whole argument,
I'm not.
and I'm throwing daggers back at you.
Joe.
No, I'm not. I'm just stating the obvious. Okay. And because of my
I am, and that's the problem. You think that because I'm stating the obvious that I'm throwing daggers at you in a disrespectful way. It's not.
It's misinformed, sir.
Well,
and I'm telling you this through experience. Okay, I'm telling you this through experience. Okay, because of being in the business for almost 20 years. Okay, and understanding how the pay-per-view revenue is determined. I'm telling you this from fact and from experience. PBC and Deontay Wilder have nothing to do with whether or not a network puts this on pay-per-view. Now, I'm going to give you an example, right? Going back to Victor Postal versus Terrence Crawford. Okay? This is the primary reason why Top Rank left HBO and decided to sign an exclusive deal with ESPN. Okay, that pay-per-view specifically, was that, in your opinion, a pay-per-view fight?
I'm sorry, I was looking at my text. What did you say?
Hold on. Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postal. Was that, in your mind, a pay-per-view worthy fight?
As much as it was Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola.
You can actually, that was a rhetorical.
As much as it was Luis Ortiz versus as much as it was Chris Martin, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, come on, man. What's your real question? What's your real question?
Major Key, no, that was a question. It was a rhetorical question, but it was a question. And I'm
That's
stating,
why I answered you stupidly.
Okay, now
because
listen.
you asked me a rhetorical question
Okay,
like I'm a
so
dumbass.
so listen for a second.
It dumbs us down.
That's a resounding hell no. Of course it wasn't. And Bob Arum basically pleaded, okay, with HBO saying, no, man, this is not a pay-per-view fight. If you put this on pay-per-view, no one's going to fucking see it. This is not a pay-per-view fight, and you're putting this event in a position to fucking fail where no one's going to see it. But HBO said, you know what? This is an expensive main event. Okay, so we're going to make the decision to put this on the pay-per-view revenue stream. Had nothing to do with Terrence Crawford's contract with Top Rank. Had nothing to do with Top Rank's agreement with HBO. This was HBO's decision exclusively, and I'm going to tell you why. Because they're the ones who pay the fucking licensing fee. Okay, so if Showtime, so Fox, who's paying for the expensive licensing fee for Wilder versus Hellenius, guess what? Because they have the licensing fee and they paid for the broadcast rights for this matchup, it's their exclusive decision to determine whether or not this is going to be on pay-per-view or on regular Fox. PBC and Wilder have nothing to do with it. Do you understand? And once again, don't get upset with me for explaining the business of boxing, because this is the way it fucking is.
It's okay, brother. I took boxing as far as the business with plenty of promoters that are and brokers and like.
So you should understand this then.
So I am understanding. The problem is that you trying to play me like I don't understand, bro. Like you're not talking to somebody that's slow. But when you try to talk to me like I'm slow, you're gonna slow yourself down. That's what's gonna happen.
Look, I don't want you to get all in your feels, brother. Okay, because that's not my intent. But when you ask me about, are you privy to Wilder's argument or Wilder's contract? That has nothing to do with anything of what we're talking about. And it tells me that you don't know how this fucking works. Okay, that's the bottom line. So don't yell at me on my channel. Don't get in your feels. Okay, because the purpose of this channel is to educate fans who don't otherwise know about the inner workings and inner dealings of the business of boxing. That's the reality. Boxing Source, am I wrong in anything that I stated?
Nobody has an opportunity to question, like, you know what I'm saying? Because it sounds like what you're telling me is that if I question what you're saying, then all of a sudden it sounds like somebody's emotional or something like that.
No. I'm trying to tell you what the answer is, and for some reason, it's not processing.
Well, it's probably not processing because you keep talking down as if I'm supposed to understand that lower level.
No.
I'm not on that lower level.
That's where you're wrong, because that's not my intent.
But that's the way you've been speaking.
I'm sorry.
I go live Monday nights at 9 p.m., bro. If you want to chop it up with me, brother, like we could come on after. I have you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna have Julian. No, that's actually this week. We're gonna have Popeye Rivera talking to Damon Nicholson because we're going to try to negotiate a fight with them too. But afterwards, like you know, after the 30-minute, 45-minute mark, once they're done, you could jump on and we could pop it
brother, we're chopping it up now. What difference does the platform make?
Because I'm trying to say that I'm not arguing with you. You're going to get your fucking whole fucking point to speak. I'm not trying to argue with you. You keep saying that I'm getting emotional when I'm not. I'm literally talking to you.
Because you took great exception on a personal level to what I was saying, and that wasn't my intent.
It seems like you kept cutting me off since the beginning, more than I've actually granted you enough leeway with that.
Look, and I'm going to answer that with all due respect. It's because it was completely inaccurate and it was complete nonsense. Okay, I'm trying to, and once again, don't take offense to that. Because this is my forte. I know everything about the business of boxing. I've been in this business helping promoters, doing publicist work, working with fighters, doing ring announcing, doing commentary. Okay. And I was taught the business of boxing by the legendary Don Warwick Chargan. That's why, hence the name Warwick Chargan. Right?
Am I supposed to jerk off of that, bro? Like, I don't give a fuck.
No.
When you speak to me, though, you're supposed to speak to me with respect. That's all I care about.
You know what? I treat everyone on this channel with respect.
You talk about Warwick and shit like that. Like, who gives a fuck, bro? Like, you talk to each individual respectfully.
Well, hold on.
Look. That's why I stated, with all due respect, Major Key, Okay, that's why I prefaced my last comment with all due respect.
All right,
Okay,
brother.
don't
Well, with
take
all due
offense to any
respect,
of this
no, no,
shit.
no. I'm not taking any offense, brother. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna chime out respectfully, and I salute you. I salute TBS. And again, I will be on Monday night. You know what I'm saying? I'm over here in the dark right now in Central Florida. No fucking power. You know what I'm
Hey
saying? I
man,
had to
Hey
charge my
man,
phone earlier today.
you know, Major
So it is
Key.
what it is.
Hold
hey,
on,
you
Major
don't have a
Key.
generator,
Before
man.
you
Yo,
leave the
stay
channel,
safe out there, man. Like I
Major Key.
said,
Thank
Before
you.
you leave the channel, brother. Okay, I didn't intend any offense. Okay, by any of the comments that I made. Okay, and I want to thank you for chiming in. Okay,
No
because
doubt.
you're regurgitating a lot of the sentiment that a lot of fans have, and so it's great dialogue
It's
and
okay.
great discussion.
No,
Okay,
and I appreciate that because when I'm gonna invite you on my channel, and when you regurgitate the same shit, I'm gonna eat you up just like I eat everybody else up.
oh
So
my
please
gosh, you know what?
come to
This
my
is not a
channel.
competition or a pissing contest. But I tell you
It
what,
kind of
I'll
is.
accept your invitation. My message,
Monday night,
because it's
9
the
p.m.
gospel truth, isn't
Monday
going to
night, 9
change.
p.m. brother. Peace.
Have a good night, brother. Boy, where did that come from? Boxing Source. Like seriously, where did that come from? And this is
like
I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to say
uh-huh.
this. I have no idea why the fuck these YouTube content creators, right? And as much as respect as I show everyone, why do they fucking get like? Why do they get so offended when I actually correct someone about the business of boxing when they're misinformed about how it works?
Misinformed. But my thing is that like I have, been off and on with Major Key for a while. And yes, he's had multiple fighters on. Yes, he's had multiple promoters on, and this, that, and the third. So he should have an understanding of how things work from a business perspective.
That's my point. It
What?
was actually quite shocking
Right.
that he was completely, and I'm going to use this word in its literal definition, okay? No offense, not taking a stab at him, but he's completely ignorant as to how the business works. Okay, and once again, I'm using ignorant in its true literal definition.
But I think it's disingenuous in a sense because what you were trying to present to him was how things work in the business of boxing. When he brought up Deontay Wilder, I was going to tell him all he had to do was follow the career of Deontay LaShawn Wilder, and you would understand why it goes from a point of being on regular Fox or NBC or CBS to Showtime pay-per-view because the
that's it.
fighter gets to a certain point where his demands or the demands from the fans have his purse to a certain point that networks cannot cover.
That's
And
it.
that is why.
So going back to our discussion, okay, and this goes back to what determines what goes on pay-per-view and what doesn't, and why networks determine whether or not they're going to attach a main event to a pay-per-view revenue stream. Okay, why go back and look. Why did PBC fail? Okay, when it initially attempted to make free programming on mainstream networks, why did it ultimately fail? Because they couldn't garner enough sponsorship. That's the reality. Okay, so that's what determines whether or not a network is going to attach a matchup to the pay-per-view revenue stream or not. And if it's a multi-million-dollar main event like Wilder versus Hellenius is, they have no choice but to attach it to a pay-per-view revenue stream to try and recoup the huge inflated guaranteed purse, right? That they have no choice.
Right.
That's what forced HBO, and once again, that's what forced Top Rank to leave HBO. Right? Is it because Bob Arum said, well, what's the point? If we're not putting together our best matchups and they're all going to be hindered and obscured by the pay-per-view revenue stream, no one's going to see it. The sport ceases to grow.
Right.
That's it. Okay. And so once again, my apologies. And I have a ton of respect for everyone who's on this panel, including everyone in the chat. Have I not always shown respect to everyone in the chat and everyone on this panel? So, right. Maybe, and once again, my apologies for him taking offense to what I was saying. But once again, it was completely inaccurate what he was saying.
Yeah, it was
inaccurate. It's not. And once again, the reason why I take exception to it, and I'm talking, okay, and this is not a debate, this is not argument. It was completely misinformed. Okay, and so I'm sorry, but there's no budging. And once again, you can twist perception all you want, but dude, if it's the truth, it's the truth. That's it. Now we can talk about who's going to win a fight, and we can have a discussion. We can debate about that. Who's going to win Crawford Spence? But when it comes to something that's absolute, the truth simply is what it is. It's the truth. And guys on this channel, okay, we are going to tell you the truth from a business perspective. That's it.
And that's the thing that, fans got to understand now. And I mean, for Major Key, he probably tried to present that question from a fan's perspective, but the problem is that fans usually don't necessarily understand the technicalities of business. So regardless of how it can be explained, a lot of them won't be able to grasp it.
You know what? And once again, boxing source, and once again, you're a very humble guy and you're very knowledgeable. And you have enough knowledge in the business where, yeah, you get it. And your explanation of everything. Have you ever heard me make a retort with anything that you've been saying?
Never.
No, because you understand it. Okay, but something, it's weird. It's a weird thing. And it's been my experience with most YouTube content creators. And once again, I'm cool with everybody. But for some reason, if you correct these guys, they take exception to it and they almost get offended. And my question is, why? Look, you know what? To your next door neighbor, and this is all fight fans, all diehards, compared to your next door neighbor, you probably think and probably seem like a boxing expert. Okay? But unless you've been in this fucking brutal ass beating business, you don't know shit about the business of boxing. Am I wrong, boxing source?
Nope, you're not wrong.
That's the problem. Because, dude, I'm cool with fucking everybody. And if I correct you concerning the business, well, then you know what? Maybe you should listen. Because I've been in this business for almost fucking 20 years. And, Adam Lopez knows this. Montequilla knows this. I used to work with him in the past.
Like, for example, for me, yeah, this name on here is the boxing source, but me covering the sport is tertiary to what I do. For many years, I've been in the IT business, supporting computers, supporting networks.
Yep.
Being Cisco certified. So if there is like an issue with the network, with your router, with your computer or something like that, and I tell you what's going on, most likely you're going to listen because I have the experience that shows that I know this stuff. So why would someone in the sport of boxing that has dealt with promoters, managers, fighters, everybody for decades, that has talked with all of those guys, had networking with all of those guys, and some people take it with a grain of salt like it's nothing, that doesn't make any sense in any form.
Yeah, I will once again, man, that's very disheartening, man, because that wasn't my intent to try and disrespect Major Key. I thought we were having a very good dialogue. And it's very disheartening, man. But I tell you what, it is what it is. Conversation went off the rails. Hey, man, more power to him. Best of luck. And once again, my question is, how would the discussion change if I were on his channel? I don't understand.
No, I don't think it would. I don't think it would change that much, if at
No.
all. No. But since we're basically the two in here, we could basically talk the business. Back to the thing with Crawford and this thing here. I was going to mention that. Well, since we're actually completely into Saturday in all time zones in the U.S. So I could say yesterday, even Steven Espinosa made it public on Twitter as a response to a Mr. Ray Jackson on Twitter, who I'm with. That he stated that they have been working hard in order to make this fight happen. So when a Showtime executive says that in public, that should tell you that whatever Max Kellerman and whatever Mike Coppinger said earlier in that day is just a bunch of fried bologna with no cheese.
Yeah. Look, and I'll add to that, man. What was the last thing he stated in that retort? And I read it on Twitter tonight. He said, "Oh, by the way, don't believe everything that you read."
Exactly.
Okay, so once again, and this was my purpose for doing the show, guys, don't believe Chicken Little that the sky is falling. Okay, this fight will materialize. It's just a matter of when. Now, unfortunately, one party involved, and I've been clear in stating this, it's been Terrence Crawford the whole time because he's still learning on the job. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's never negotiated a huge deal like this on his own.
Right.
And in my opinion, it's ill-advised. Be that as it may, though, he's still learning on the job and is, for some reason, taking exception to everything. Okay? That's been clear from everyone involved that I've spoken to. Okay? And it's two people. And you know who they are. I've told you this off the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They insist that Terrence Crawford has been a huge pain in the ass this entire time. In their words, he's been acting like a diva.
Mm-hmm.
That's their words, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you know who my contacts are.
Right. Now, I mean, from a reporter / fan perspective, right? When Terrence Crawford left Top Rank and became a quote unquote free agent, did I see this particular fight trying to materialize? Yes. Did I think that it would be next for Terrence Crawford? No. Reason being is because I sensed that at that particular point, it wouldn't have made financial sense to make that fight, to have the figures that I was seeing that the fight could have made. I was thinking about Terrence Crawford having a fight in the interim before going up against Errol Spence. Why? Because they had to gauge how much money Terrence Crawford could generate.
Okay, now I'm gonna say propose a question that is in Terrence Crawford's favor.
Okay.
Now, in your opinion, does that hurt his plight for seeking $15 million or help him? This is why I can guarantee you. Now, I can't state this certainly because I haven't spoken to Bomac in a long time.
Yeah.
But I can tell you honestly, okay, they didn't want that. They didn't want that in trying to negotiate this, right?
Wait, whoa, hold on. So they didn't want a fight in the interim.
Why would they do that if it lessens their negotiating power and their market value in the interim?
Dang.
What are the chances that it actually helps their plight for seeking $15 million if they take an interim fight and it flounders in terms of ratings.
See,
so
that
right
would be the
now,
thing.
so hold on. Right now, they're negotiating on the premise that their last payday was $6 million guaranteed
Yes.
for competing in a lesser matchup against Sean Porter. Okay, that's what they were banking on. Look, see, if we get paid $6 million for Porter for a fight of this magnitude, that means we're justified in demanding $15 million. That's their logic.
And they jumped the gun on that.
Look. Either way, they were put in a no-win scenario because they were under the product of receiving inflated purses.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where he's kind of lost grip of his realistic market value.
And actually, you really made that point there, because that kind of like knocks down my theory or what the plan could have been. Because of him getting that $6 million guarantee against Sean Porter, that may have knocked out the possibility of him potentially facing someone like a Keith Thurman before.
Yeah, so look, here's the proof. Here's the specific proof. Look at Mikey Garcia. How easy was it for him to negotiate an additional fight after the Errol Spence huge payday of $7 million, receiving $3 million guaranteed and $4 million on the back end because it was a successful pay-per-view? How easy was it for him to negotiate another similar price? Okay, he negotiated one with someone who wasn't familiar with the U.S. market in Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Sports.
Yep.
Getting $7 million for a Jesse Vargas fight. When that fight flopped and that did nothing to produce additional subscribers in the U.S. market for DAZN, guess what? How successful was he in negotiating a fight after that? He didn't. He was forced to retire.
Basically, get hit with a Sandor Martin fight.
Oh, dude, he received virtually nothing because at that time, DAZN was onto it. He said, look, I don't know if it was just a specific matchup, but you on your own, you don't have that kind of market value or muscle in the sports market in America. You look at how many fans showed up at that fight in Fresno.
You're right.
Okay, so once again, guys, and I don't care what anyone says, oh, you're worth as much as anyone's willing to pay you. Not in this era of inflated purses. So let's take an example again, Caleb Plant. He received $10 million for his last fight. How much you think he's getting fighting Anthony Durrell in the co-main event of Wilder Helenius? Once again, he's a co-main event for a reason. He's not a big headliner. How much do you think he's getting for this fight? Was $10 million his realistic market value?
Nope.
Fuck no. Not even close. And once again, that's no knock on him. And I think this is the dilemma. When talking about this with other YouTubers, quote unquote, content creators. Okay, I'm talking from the point of view of someone who's in this business. I couldn't care less. I don't have any dog in the hunt. I'm not pulling for one fighter or the other. Okay, if it's good for the business of boxing, I'm all for it. Fighters, promoters, platforms, a very distant second. That's it. And for some reason, these content creators, they take great exception to that for some reason. And why? Because they can't relate. These guys are glorified fans with a fucking camera and a fucking microphone. The great majority of them. And I hate to be that blunt, but you know what? I don't deserve to be fucking disrespected on my own fucking channel. Especially when I'm cool with everybody.
Right. And it's crazy to me because there's some of these YouTubers that I've run into, and I say, hey, I'm like, yo, I see what you're doing out here, but you You could get in the business. You could be, a person that covers the sport. At one point, I was a fan, and then I eventually covered the sport. And I'm at this point where I'm at right now because of me doing the research, of me pursuing these fighters.
Well,
Promoters.
let me sum this up. Boxing Source, you understand the business. Why? Because you were humble and asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you actually took that knowledge from someone who's actually experienced in this business. That's the only way you learn.
Yeah.
The only reason why I know any of this stuff, because I worked with guys like Emmanuel Stewart, guys like Don Warwick-Chargan, various promoters, various fighters. Okay, this didn't just happen magically. Okay, so my advice to any YouTube content creator who wants to truly learn about this business, get involved with a promoter, get involved with a network, get involved with a fighter, learn how this fucking shit works. Until you do that, you're nothing but a glorified fan with a camera and a mic. That's it.
That's pretty much it.
You know what? Until then, dude, don't get upset if I correct you. If you're espousing ignorance, don't get upset if I correct you. That's how I learned. Dude, when I first got in this business, I was a writer and I thought I was hot shit. I thought I knew everything because I was surrounded by predominantly fans. Boy, I quickly learned that I didn't know shit about the business.
Yeah.
And the only way you learn is if you shut the fuck up and you fucking listen to people who actually do.
You listen.
That's it.
What? What you just brought up there is a great example. I started as a writer for an independent thing there, and I wrote as a fan in some cases. I mean, sometimes I reported on the fights or whatever it is, but I also had stuff where I reported or just made stuff as a fan, made articles as a fan, opinionated pieces as a fan. And one of those articles I had made was titled "Keith Thurman Should Shut the Fuck Up and Fight Errol Spence." And that is pretty much around that time when people were talking about that being a potential fight. But if you don't know about the business of the sport, then yes, you're going to talk about stuff with that type of theme. But once you're in the business and once you learn how things work, then you'll understand why some fights don't happen.
That's it. And you know what? You basically summed up the purpose of this channel. Okay, to help the fighters or help the fans understand why certain deals happen and why they don't. So they're not just walking around under the premise that, boxing is a shady, corrupt sport, and oh man, we never get the fights that we want to see. Well, that's the purpose of this show, to explain why certain deals are possible and why they aren't. That's the sole purpose of this channel. Because in all honesty, I don't need this shit. I do this because I love chopping it up with our extended War Week family and gentlemen like yourself. I love the sport of boxing. But I don't need this shit. This is not how I make my income.
Right.
Like, dude, fuck me, man. Why would you get offended, man? Being corrected by someone who's been in this business for almost 2 decades. Why? Tell you what, if I actually was offended the first time Emmanuel Stewart yelled at me, I wouldn't know shit.
You'd be nowhere. Like,
I would have never learned.
Like what if
I got offended the first time I was corrected by someone like Don Warwick-Chargan, okay, I wouldn't know shit. You only learn, man, if you're humble and listen from the guys who have actually done it and have been or experienced it in this area. Like when a fighter or a trainer, like Coach Gogi or Coach Ronnie, when they tell me, no, this is what you have to do strategically. This is what a fighter's looking for. If they insist on telling me what's going on in the ring, I'm going to shut the fuck up and I'm going to listen. Like, who am I, man, to actually correct those guys?
Yeah.
because they're more experienced in that area.
Like I didn't, continue my when I was doing writing for boxing, like until talking with someone like a Rich Mancuso, who had been writing for decades in the sport of boxing, and you would want to be around to listen to what they're talking about because they've been in the business, they've had those connections, so you learn from them and you see if you could do the same things that they do so that you could get further in what you're doing as a reporter. Like I could have said, hey man, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'm gonna just, keep writing and writing as a fan and seeing if I could talk with, this fighter and that or this promoter, that promoter, until you have those times where you get rejected over and over and over and over again. Then what do you do? Do you keep going or are you going to quit?
Yeah, see, and I think that's what, hold on, Major Key, we're not talking about you specifically. We're talking about all YouTube content creators, because I experience this with the great majority of content creators. Like for some reason, they cannot stand being corrected by someone who has more experience in the business. Once again, it's nothing personal, but this is the experience that I have dealing with content creators. I don't understand it. Like, I'm very respectful to everyone. And Boxing Source can attest to that. And everyone on this panel and on the chat can attest to that. I'm cool with everybody. Hold on. So, Cool Money has a question before we actually let everyone go. We're already been on for 3 hours, right? Mm-hmm. Would boxing be more acceptable, attractive if the lineup were more competitive? Matchmakers and promoters have a very, very tough job, right? And they spend a ton of money on their talent. Like, let me ask you, Boxing Source? Mm-hmm. Has Top Rank yet made a profit on Shakur Stevenson after all the money that they've spent in cultivating and matchmaking his plight to this point? Are they in the black at this point when it comes to Shakur Stevenson?
Man, maybe not even with this latest event either.
Fuck no, not even close. They've spent so much money on cultivating this talent. So unfortunately, when you're looking at their ascension up at the 4, 6, and 8 round levels, they're still in the red.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, easily. They've given him so much money in terms of siphons, okay, between fights, in lodging, in accommodations, in pre-fight advances, okay, in bonus money that they spent on signing him, in matchmaking, in choosing opposition. Who do you think pays for their opposition? Okay, they fly guys, and often when they're on their way up at the 4, 6, and 8 round level, because it's fighting a blue chip prospect, oftentimes their opponent, they have to pay more than what they're paying their blue chip prospect.
Yep.
Just to get him those fights. So it's a virtual impossibility. Now, in terms of talking pay-per-views, because I know that's a very big talking point and a misnomer among diehard fight fans. Would boxing be more acceptable, attractive if the lineup were more competitive? Now, when you're looking at lineups in terms of pay-per-view, okay, how do promoters actually pay for the undercard? Most fans don't know this, okay, including most YouTube content creators. They don't know this, okay, but how do promoters pay for the undercard? They pay for it with the live gate or the site fee. The main event exclusively is paid for by the network. They only pay for the main event, the pre-fight guarantee. Everything else is paid for through the live gate or the site fee. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And once again, that's the purpose of this channel, to try and explain and talk about this. So when you're looking at an already expensive pay-per-view, okay, in which the fighters also have a stake in the live gate or the site fee, like say Canelo versus Triple G3. They had huge guarantees from the network, but also had a percentage of the live gate. Where's the money supposed to come from when putting together more attractive matchups on the undercard? And also, how many headliners, okay, guys that are used to being main eventers, okay, they're not exactly champing at the bit to be on someone else's undercard. When is the last time you've seen a marquee headliner as the co-main event or second fiddle to another fighter? I'll tell you, you can go back and look at Mayweather Canelo. What was the co-main event on Mayweather Canelo?
Danny Garcia versus Lucas Matisse.
That's right. And you talked to both guys afterwards. They weren't all that thrilled in competing on someone else's co-main event when that's easily a headliner any other time. Ask Adrian Broner if he was happy being an undercard, a preliminary bout to Floyd Mayweather. That's why it's so difficult, guys. And once again, from a promotional point of view and from a network's point of view, most mainstream and casual fans don't give a shit about who's in the undercard. In fact, most people attending the fight at the casino don't give a shit who's on the preliminary. How many events have you ever been to, Boxing Source, where you don't see a packed house until the main event starts?
Almost every single one of them.
That's right. So once again, from a business perspective, guys, and that's how we're going to give it to you. Okay? We have no bones in this. We don't have any dog in the hunt. But to answer your question, Cool Money, those are all the reasons why it's impossible to put together a healthy boxing and attractive fight card that's going to appease diehard fans as well as the mainstream and casual fight fans, because mainstream and casuals, they don't give a shit who's on the prelims. And I'm sorry, but this isn't a healthier era where diehard fans are religiously paying for this product any further.
Mm-hmm.
So networks and promoters don't give a shit who's on the undercard. They really don't. And if they do put together a great fight card on the preliminary, that's just a bonus. How many times, right? And this is a past before I was even in the business. How many times in Boxing Source before you were in the business, whenever you attended a fight party where it was a pay-per-view fight, say, I don't know, Tyson Holyfield, right? Say you attended a fight party. How many people actually sat down and in front of the TV and were interested before the main event?
All right. If you had about 25 people, probably 2 of them were interested, if that.
Yep, that's it. Everyone else were just mingling, drinking, and eating. And they didn't become interested and emotionally invested until the main event. Now,
I'll give you even more recent example.
Hold on. Adam goes, I do though. He says, I care about the undercard.
Well, that's the one. There you go.
But hold on. Adam's not only a diehard fan and an integral part of this business, working with other fighters, but he's also a former badass who actually competed in the ring. Okay? And I'll tell you what, if you aren't familiar who Adam Montequilla is, go look up his fight with Pablo Cruz on Showbox. That's all you need to know. Adam was a fucking badass when he was in the ring, when he was an active fighter. And I tell you what, it's always an honor and a privilege to have him here in the chat as part of the show.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I used to work with him, but that's seriously, in all honesty, he was a bad motherfucker.
Now,
Okay, so that's not fair that he says that, and he's saying that in jest.
now you gave a great example in reference to this thing for pay-per-view events and how revenue is or purses are, basically paid out. And you brought up a certain fighter that is part of an undercard. That's a co-feature. That's a former world champion. That was paid $10 million at one point in a Mr. Caleb Sweet Hands plant.
That's right.
And you asked the question of what do people think that Caleb Plant would be paid for his fight against Anthony the Dog Durrell in a co-feature bout at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, October 15th, headlined by Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. And you showed how those purses work.
Yep.
Now, we're talking about the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York.
Yep.
And we're about a few weeks, 2 weeks away from that fight taking place.
I will say this, Boxing Source. I will say this.
Uh-huh.
A lot of credit must be given to PBC and Al Heyman for consistently staging these fights in venues where they're accessible to mainstream and casual fans.
Right.
Like a mainstream venue like the Barclays Center.
Uh-huh.
Because Top Rank, they're not that advantageous at this point in their historic and Hall of Fame involvement in this sport. They're mainly shooting for par.
Right.
They don't give a shit about trying to sell tickets any longer. They're merely taking the big casino site fee and merely making their money off of the big network licensing fee, and that's it.
Yes.
Their job's done.
Yeah.
It's not their event any longer. It's
Yeah.
the casino's. It's
Yeah,
their job to
Vegas
promote the
or-
event and sell
or
tickets, not theirs any
Oklahoma
longer.
or whatever. Yeah. But with this one here, Barclays Center, is supposed to be headlined by Mr. Deontay LaShawn Wilder against Robert Helenius. When it comes to the gate and that these purses are really reliant on that gate, if y'all see, if I'm looking at what I'm looking at, if y'all are able to tune in on Fox pay-per-view and see the crowd in there, then you'll see how things can reflect when it comes to the purses of the fighters on the undercard. And
That's right.
I guess in reference to a Mr. Caleb Sweet Hands plant, in reference to his particular purse, it will not be near north of $1 million, if that. You can't pay him, even though he's been paid $10 million. You can't pay him around $1 million if that was his top purse while he had the IBF title at super middle.
That's right. That inflated purse does not reflect his realistic market value. And once again, I'm going to say this as bluntly as I possibly can. Caleb Plant is a gentleman who couldn't sell at my living room on a Saturday night. And it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Fans either are attracted to you and gravitate towards you or they don't. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can try to promote someone like that all you want, but if the fans choose not to like you, there's nothing you can do about it. That's it. And it's one of the big misnomers about, well, the Terrence Crawford top rank merger and relationship. Everyone, like I shouldn't say everyone, but most fans are under the impression that Top Rank did a miserable job trying to promote this guy. And I'm like, wow, really? Making him a headliner on HBO and then ESPN. Boy, if that's a miserable job at promoting someone, I want some of that action.
Well,
I mean, what more can they do in making someone a headliner on two of the most widely recognized platforms of boxing over the past 20 years?
I got something even better for you. Okay, some people, fans will be fans. They're gonna say it's hating anyway. Okay, whatever. Okay, if that particular party felt like they were doing a horrible job, why would you re-up with them?
Yeah. Well. Look. In the case of Terrence Crawford, and this is one of the reasons why he filed that lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that contract specifically, and it's stated in the lawsuit, they promised him that they would be able to make the Errol Spence Jr. fight for him if he signed that extension. And if they didn't try, then he would get $1 million just right off the bat as part of his extension. Okay. And if you're Bob Arum, if you're Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler, why wouldn't you think you could make that fight after successfully making the deal with Al Heyman and PBC in making Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder 2 and 3? Why wouldn't you think that you could make that matchup? So once again, this guy is claiming that they misrepresented themselves and fabricated this illusion that they could make that fight, right? And that they were fraudulent. And I'm like, after making that deal, why wouldn't they believe that they could make that matchup a reality? Okay, but once again, it's just more of the same and evidence that Terrence Crawford knows very little about the business.
Well,
and I can guarantee you that's the primary source for this laboring, ongoing negotiation. One party specifically has taken exception to every detail. And why? Because he's learning on the job when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. And you did bring up the thing with Wilder versus Fury, that second fight, February of 2020.
Yep.
Leading into that particular fight, a Mr. Terrence Crawford kind of said something that really went against him in a sense when it comes to this. There was a particular question that dealt with Wilder versus Fury and how Bob Arum and Al Heyman were able to make this fight, and that, hey, since they're able to do that, then, hey, we could possibly have this thing with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And Terrence Crawford said, hey, you know, I've always said this. It's all about money at the end of the day. If it makes sense, the fight will get made. If it doesn't make sense, the fight won't get made. So what does that particularly mean, Mr. Terrence Crawford? Are you saying that whatever had been offered, if anything had been offered, did make sense to you? Because if they were able to make a fight of that magnitude between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, they could surely make one with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Also, they were also able to make Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao. So, yeah, they could make Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what, brother? And once again, man, this fight would have been much easier to make if he had stayed with Top Rank.
Yeah.
But once again, though, maybe yes, maybe no. From a business perspective, yes, it's a no-brainer. It would have been a slam dunk, and it would have been. But if you're Al Heyman and PBC, and this was the reason why they wanted Terrence Crawford to sign an advisory deal with Al Heyman in options for his next several fights. Because when you look at the deal that they had between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, they didn't have options on Tyson Fury's next several fights except a third fight, right?
Right.
And what happened? They lost for an entire year, and who knows if he's ever going to be the same. That remains to be determined. But if he appears damaged goods, guess what? As a result of that Fury fight deal, okay, they lost their biggest earner on PBC as a result of that. So I understand after your biggest earner taking a bludgeoning and getting knocked out twice and potentially never being the same, That's a lot of risk for a promoter, right? So I can understand why they didn't want to make this fight until he left Top Rank and they could possibly get options on his next several fights. But obviously, Terrence Crawford didn't want any part of that. And in my opinion, from a business perspective, Terrence Crawford, in his activity and the way he's treating everything, all indicators point to this being his swan song and the final fight in his professional career. But I tell you what, Boxing Source, it's always a pleasure to share the air with you, my friend. And yeah, I always have a great time chopping it up with you, brother. And once again, guys, I apologize for getting emotional and getting upset a little bit. My apologies, guys. But once again, I couldn't understand really why the gentleman on here earlier was taking great offense to what I was saying. I didn't understand it. And I became a little perturbed as a result. But it is what it is, guys. And it's been my experience in dealing with, some of these YouTube content creators. Boxing Source, thank you for being the exception. And any parting shots for our listening audience, because we're going to sign out.
Well, for me, once again, condolences out to the family of Dusty Hernandez Harrison for the transition of Buddy Harrison last Saturday.
Thank you for saying that, man. I completely lost. I completely forgot to mention that. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, our thoughts and prayers go out with his entire family in the DC area.
Yeah. That had really rocked the DC boxing community around Maryland and Virginia as well. As a result, the particular event that was supposed to be scheduled for Saturday has been postponed. And there'll be like other events happening within the DC area as far as like boxing events are concerned. So if y'all are in the DC area, just be on the lookout for that. I have, of course, podcasts, usually live Sundays on YouTube, Sunday nights on YouTube. And as of now, that's pretty much it. Just, trying to look forward to, the action coming up on this month, October. So we'll see what happens with that. And as a reminder to myself, I have to do this once it, once the sun rises up. I do have to make modifications to my lodging reservations for Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
For November 19th. So I have to do that.
And there it is. I tell you what, Boxing Source, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for taking your time out and visiting with us this evening. It's very enlightening. And it's always a pleasure to share the air with you, my friend. Guys, on behalf of Boxing Source and everyone who's visited our panel and everyone in the chat, guys, I'm Joseph Heron. You've been listening to War Week Radio. Have an excellent weekend, everybody.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.